Chapter 1 Seizing Life. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Under the scorching sun, with clear skies and surrounded by mountain peaks, the heaven and earth were undulating, the mountains and forests were swaying, and a gust of mountain wind blew all the way into the valley, making Yuan feel a little cool while standing in the garden. Yuan wiped the sweat from his forehead and stared at the blooming flowers and plants on the ground. They were all brightly colored and showed no signs of withering even under the sun. There was a young man standing on each side of him. The three of them went to the medicine valley under the Taixuan Pill Hall today. Compared with Yuan's excitement, the other two seemed to lack interest and absent-mindedly rubbed their hands. Sweat, standing in front of them was a commoner young man with a plain appearance, but a strong body and bright eyes. He was Zhang Chuanxiu, the eldest disciple of Yao Valley, and was explaining to Yuan and the others the essentials of picking spiritual flowers and spiritual herbs. The flowers and plants in this garden are all first-class medicinal herbs. They cannot be uprooted when picking. They need to be cut off from the stems close to the soil. After cutting, they must be wrapped with the spiritual protection paper in your hands to prevent the spiritual energy from leaking. Zhang Chuanxiu's voice was loud and energetic, not affected by the scorching sun at all. Yuan held the scissors in his right hand and strips of white paper in his left hand, carefully writing down every word of Zhang Chuanxiu. Unlike the two people next to him, he cherished this position very much. He had to endure a lot of supercilious looks to get this opportunity. Others thought he was showing off and that he was going to fall, but little did they know that this was the most suitable way for him to become stronger. Okay, let's get started. Everyone picks one plant and I'll test it. As soon as Zhang Chuanxiu finished speaking, Yuan squatted down. Yuan put down the soul-protecting paper in his hand and carefully held the rhizome of the red flower in front of him with his left hand. Brother, you must be too nervous. Even if you cut it, it's okay. It's just first-class herbs. These are ordinary herbs used to make basic elixirs. If you leave them at home, I won't look down on them at all. Yuan's right side Meng Lang spoke. He was dressed luxuriously and looked like he came from an extraordinary family. In fact, this is indeed the case. Except for Yuan, who is a servant, the other two people are from wealthy families. However, the children of wealthy families have to pay attention to cultivating the spiritual roots of immortals when they join the world of immortality. They are all the most mediocre 5 spiritual roots. If they want to stay in Taixuan Sect, you can only be a handyman disciple. Yuan ignored Meng Lang's words and concentrated on cutting flowers. He pinched the rhizome, cut it lightly with scissors, and then wrapped the root of the red flower with spiritual paper. After doing all this, he stood up and handed it to Zhang Chuanxiu for inspection. Zhang Chuanxiu took it and looked at it, and said with a satisfied smile, "Well done. You are very careful." Yuan did not answer, but stared at the red flower in his hand. At this moment, he was more nervous than before. After a few breaths, a line of text that only Yuan could read appeared in front of him. You successfully captured the red spirit flower, first level, with a lifespan of 1 year. Done. A smile appeared on Yuan's face, and he felt relieved. Sure enough, only animals and plants containing spiritual energy can be deprived of their lifespan by him. The first time Yuan lost his life was when he was 10 years old. He accidentally bumped into a flower pot carried by another servant, causing the pot of spiritual shower to spill on the ground. He lost 12 years of life. At that time, the nurse was furious and insisted on cutting off one of his hands, but the third lady Ji Xiaoyu stopped him and saved him. This time, Yuan was able to worship at the Taixuan Sect because of Ji Xiaoyu. Ji Xiaoyu has a rare double spiritual root that is rare in a century. Many great sects of cultivating immortals have offered their support to the Ji family. Ji Xiaoyu and 5 members of the Ji family after joining Taixuan Sect. Yuan was the only servant. Without Ji Xiaoyu, with his 5 spiritual root qualifications, he could only join a third-rate sect. While Yuan was secretly happy, Meng Lang and another young man named Li had also completed the extraction. Zhang Chuanxiu put 3 red spirit flowers into the storage bag on his waist and said seriously, "Today your task is to pick 50 red spirit flowers together. You can only move in this garden and are not allowed to invade other gardens. Complete." Then he brought Qi Linghua to the attic to find me. After saying that, Zhang Chuanxiu turned and left. Meng Lang waved his fist at Zhang Chuanxiu's back, and murmured in a low voice, "You've been talking about something so big for a long time, but you haven't brought up your junior brother." Liya sat directly on the dirt and frantically wiped the sweat with his sleeves. After Guan saw Zhang Chuanxiu going upstairs, he turned back and said to Meng Lang and Liya, "Brothers, seeing that you are well dressed, you must have a very good family background. You can't do such rough work. I'm different. I'm just a servant. Why don't you do it? Let me do it for you. I will complete the task. You can find a shady place to rest and take care of me in the future." When Meng Lang heard this, his eyes suddenly lit up, and he smiled in surprise. "Okay, brother, you are very wise. If one day you can't stay any longer, I will ensure that you have no worries about food and clothing for the rest of your life." Liya no longer had the energy to speak, so he nodded in agreement. Afterwards, the two left their respective soul-protecting papers and helped each other out of the garden. Guan picked up these soul-protecting papers, looked back at the garden, his eyes were shining, and the scorching sun in the sky was not as hot as his eyes. In his eyes, the red spirit flowers in the garden are not flowers, but stepping stones to the sky that build the road to longevity. He began to act cautiously. He not only had to complete the task, but also did it well to avoid losing this perfect job. The scorching sun exudes its own endless rays without any consideration for the feelings of the common people in the world. Meng Lang and Liya walked to a small pavilion to rest. They kept wiping sweat and didn't even have the strength to speak. Their eyes followed Guan. Time passed by, and Guan was sweating profusely, but he was very excited and the smile on his face never disappeared. Looking at the blushing Guan, Meng Lang couldn't help but sigh, "In such a hot day, this kid is really hard-working. I like it. From now on, we will take more care of him, let him eat and drink well, and don't allow others to bully him, so that he can continue to help us." Liya rolled his eyes and said angrily, "There are not many people in this valley who can bully him. If senior brother bullies him, do you dare to talk back?" Meng Lang gave a fake cough, looked at Liya, and asked, "Brother, where are you from?" "The Li family," Liya said calmly, "the Li family in Changluo, Zhangzhou." "Changluo? Isn't that the imperial city? Do you have the same surname as the royal family?" Meng Lang asked in surprise. As soon as he finished speaking, he couldn't help but widen his eyes. Liya did not answer, but looked at Guan quietly. Meng Lang became embarrassed. He didn't expect to meet a member of the royal family here, but after he thought about it, he felt that it was normal. This was Taixuan, the first sect of cultivating immortals in the Taixuan dynasty. The fact that they could share the same character as Taixuan with the dynasty showed how transcendent the status of Taixuan was. It's not too outrageous to be a member of the royal family. For a long time, Guan finally finished picking 50 red spirit flowers. He put all the wrapped red spirit flowers into the bamboo basket. He carried the bamboo basket and looked at other parks, his face full of anticipation. There are more than 15 parks in the valley, and the park they are in is just a small corner. He guesses that the medicinal herbs in other parks are of higher value. There is ample time. Guan didn't want to expose his golden finger, so he would call it a day. He walked along the path towards the attic, waving to Meng Lang and Liya at the same time, and they got up and walked over. "Brother Guan, thank you for your hard work. Let me carry it," Meng Lang said with a smile. The three of them had introduced themselves when they met the Valley Master before, so they remembered each other's names. Guan saw through Meng Lang's little thoughts, nodded with a smile, and then handed him the bamboo basket. Liya curled his lips, with disdain in his eyes. Guan just wanted to keep this job. He didn't want to be transferred out because he performed too well, so he didn't bother to argue with Meng Lang. The three of them came to the attic and met their senior brother Zhang Chuanxiu. Zhang Chuanxiu was holding a book. When he saw Guan and the others coming in, he put down the book in his hand and said, "Put down the red spirit flower. These 3 books are the basic methods left by the master. Practice them during your daily rest. Try to jump out of here one day and become a true disciple of Taixuan Sect." 5 years ago, a disciple obtained the master's elixir, successfully established the foundation, and became an outer disciple of Taixuan Sect. As he spoke, he waved his right hand, and 3 secret books flew out of his sleeves and flew towards Guan and the others. Guan took the book and read the words clearly, Chuan Mu Gong. It sounds so vulgar. Guan was not disappointed. After all, he was at the bottom of Taixuan Sect. Zhang Chuanxiu gave a few more instructions and asked them to find a room in the courtyard next door. It was reserved for the handyman disciples. Currently, there were only 4 of them disciples in this medicine valley. The owner of the valley was away and it would take 2 years before he could come back. So Zhang Chuanxiu is now in charge of Yaogu. After 1 stick of incense, Guan was lying on the wooden bed, gasping for air, and his face was red. After all, he had just experienced an exposure. His mind moved, and lines of words appeared in front of him. Name, Guan. Lifespan, 15/151. Spiritual roots, 5 elements. Ordinary spiritual roots can be invested in lifespan evolution practice. Cultivation, not in the flow, can invest in life evolution practice. Skill, fire control technique, not yet practiced, can be put into lifespan evolution practice. Guan took away 88 years of life in one breath. Before that, his lifespan was 63 years, 12 of which were obtained by breaking the flower bed when he was 10 years old. In other words, he could only live to be 50 years old at the beginning. First-level herbs can only provide 1 to 2 years of life, but for mortals, 1 year is so long. Guan looked at his attribute panel, and the more he looked at it, the more excited he became. In just a short time, he had earned 88 years of life. This job is so beautiful. He wants to be Yaogu's key tenant. He looked down upon both outer disciples and inner disciples. It is said that becoming a formal disciple requires you to go out to perform tasks and kill demons in the world, which is very dangerous. Guan has never killed a chicken since he was a child. In his previous life, he was an ordinary person on earth. If he was asked to kill, he couldn't do it. How great it is to stay in Medicine Valley, where you will almost never encounter danger, and you can earn a lot of life. Who said you have to work hard to become an immortal? Guan fell into a beautiful fantasy and couldn't extricate himself. The night passed. Guan woke up early in the morning. After a brief wash, he went to Zhang Chuanxiu to receive the task. Zhang Chuanxiu did not sleep. He was collecting qi and practicing. He smiled happily at Guan's hard work, then stood up and walked to the door of the room. He pointed to a garden and said, "You can pick all the spiritual grass in that garden. Just put the link 5 at the door after picking it, no need to knock on the door." After that, he waved his sleeves, and the pieces of spiritual protection paper fell into Guan's hands. Zhang Chuanxiu looked at Guan, who could not restrain his excitement. He hesitated for a moment, showed an amiable smile, and said, "Junior brother, work hard. As long as you are diligent and willing to endure hardship, you will definitely get ahead." Chapter 2, 1000 Years of Life. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As spring passes and autumn comes, the Medicine Valley of Taixuan spends an unnoticed year in the changing of seasons. The door of an attic opened, and 16-year-old Guan, Meng Lang, and Li Ya walked out of the house. They turned around and saluted inside, and then Meng Lang closed the door. All 3 of them breathed a sigh of relief and walked down the stairs. When he arrived at his yard, Meng Lang couldn't help but complain, "I can talk about this for an hour. Can't he just pass the Baichao Lu in his hand to us?" Li Ya shook his head helplessly. Then he walked to the corner of the yard, picked up the sword stuck in the soil, and started practicing with it. Although his spiritual root qualifications are mediocre, he comes from the royal family at least, and he has a set of exquisite swordsmanship in his hands. He plans to rely on this swordsmanship to make a comeback. The Taixuan dynasty respected the way of cultivating immortals, and all civil and military officials in the dynasty practiced immortality. At the same time, the dynasty divided the people of the 13 states into different classes, from low to high, as slaves, civilians, officials, and immortals. Among them, merchants are also among the people. Only those who have achieved immortal status can be considered true nobles. Ordinary official status can only be held in towns and cities. The lord of the county and the governor of a state are all immortals, not to mention the imperial city of Changluo. If you want to enter Changluo, you must be an immortal. many immortal families will banish their children with poor spiritual qualifications to ensure the excellence of their bloodline, and the royal family is no exception. No matter how downtrodden Liya was from the immortal family, he was not something Guan could offend. Because he is a slave, during this year, Guan specialized in picking herbs for Liya and Meng Lang. Most of the picking time was in summer or early morning, so his efforts made them fond of him. Other times, such as planting, watering, fertilizing and other chores, Guan did not help them, and they were too embarrassed to continue talking. Moreover, during planting, Zhang Chuanxiu would stand in the attic and stare. Guan listened to Meng Lang chattering while watching Liya practice his sword. Every man dreams of being a swordsman. The three of them have been together for a year, getting along day and night, and have established a good relationship. Liya did not stop them from watching him practice swordsmanship. After all, he couldn't practice swordsmanship in hiding, and the Li family's swordsmanship also has a unique luck method. Just practice swordsmanship. It's no use. Meng Lang talked for a while and finally ended without saying anything. He patted Guan on the shoulder and said with a smile, "You don't usually practice martial arts, why are you so interested in swordsmanship?" Guan casually replied, "I am too lazy to practice because of my mediocre qualifications. I watched him practice swords because he was bored." "Don't you think life in Yaogu is boring?" "Yeah, it's so boring. You know, I have 4 maids at home to help me have fun. Did you know?" Meng Lang sighed with emotion, and then started talking endlessly. Guan was used to his boastful nature and didn't bother to expose it. It wasn't until dusk fell that Liya just finished practicing his sword. He stuck his sword in the yard, wiped his sweat and said, "I'll go for a walk in the woods." After saying that, without waiting for Guan and Meng Lang to reply, he walked towards the gate of the courtyard. After he left the yard, Meng Lang murmured in a low voice, "What do you think this kid is doing all the time in the woods?" Guan shrugged and said, "How do I know? He is a member of the royal family, so it is normal for him to carry some secrets. What if he goes back to become a prince one day? How is that possible? He was sent out to work as a handyman. But you have to think about it, there is more than just Taixuan in this world. Why do you come to Taixuan to work as a handyman?" Guan shook his head and said. Meng Lang was stunned by these words. Immediately, Guan walked to the well, scooped a ladle of water from the wooden bucket with a wooden ladle, drank it all, then put down the wooden ladle and walked out of the courtyard. Meng Lang didn't follow Guan. He knew what Guan was going to do. He muttered something and went back to the house to practice. Guan came to a park where the second-level spiritual grass, Jingxin grass, was planted. During this year, Guan picked only first-class medicinal materials, and the herbs here are not ordinary plants. They take longer to mature. Many herbs need to wait several years to be harvested, so the herbs he picked within 1 year are not. That's too much. Zhang Chuanxiu said that if they wait another month, they can pick the tranquilizing grass in this park. It will be their first time to pick second-level medicinal materials. Guan has been looking forward to it for a long time. In his eyes, the dark blue meditative grasses are not medicinal materials, but lifespan values. Guan saw a meditation grass swaying. He took a closer look and his expression suddenly changed. He immediately climbed over the wooden fence and rushed over quickly. He saw a palm-sized white-haired mouse poking at the soil under the Jingxin grass, as if trying to uproot the Jingxin grass. Seeing Guan rushing towards him, the white-haired mouse was so frightened that he immediately ran away, as fast as lightning, and quickly disappeared under the wooden fence at the edge of the place, escaping without a trace. Guan wanted to catch up, but when he saw that the meditation grass had been chewed and the stem was broken, he quickly squatted down and took out a piece of spiritual protection paper from his waist. He quickly picked off the Jingxin grass with his left hand, and then wrapped the spirit protection paper around its roots with his right hand to prevent the spiritual energy from dissipating. After bandaging, Guan stood up. "You successfully captured the 4-year lifespan of quiet heart grass, level 2. Before Guan could smile, another line of text appeared in front of his eyes. "Your lifespan exceeds 1,000 years for the first time. Turn on the lifespan detection function, lifespan." Exploration. Guan was secretly curious. He couldn't help but look at a kind of meditation grass on the ground, and thought to himself, check the lifespan, calming heart grass, level 24/25/102 years, age/lifespan/lifespan limit, can this tranquilizing grass have a maximum lifespan of 102 years? The lifespan taken away is also different from its original lifespan. It seems that the target's lifespan cannot be completely deprived. Most of the lifespan will be lost with the target's death. Guan didn't know the difference between lifespan and life limit. Perhaps it was related to cultivation. He picked up the wrapped Jingxin grass, stood up and left, and walked towards Zhang Chuanxiu's attic. All the herbs in the Medicine Valley must be handed over to Zhang Chuanxiu for safekeeping, and Guan and the other two will receive the salary of Taixuan's menial disciples every 6 months, all of which are spiritual stones and elixirs for cultivation. Zhang Chuanxiu will also give them seeds of herbs according to their performance. Guan's house has 3 Jingxin grasses planted, one more than Meng Lang and Liya. Meng Lang and Liya are not jealous of this. As soon as Guan walked out of the park, he saw someone climbing the stairs of Zhang Chuanxiu's attic. It was an old man in black, carrying a book box and wearing a black cloth hat. The whole person looked very mysterious. Looking at the old man in black from afar, Guan's mind moved, and he checked the other party's lifespan. Then 2 lines of prompts popped up in front of him. Qing Xiandan, 8th level of Qi Training 104/120/180, Qing Xiandan. The Master of Medicine Valley, who is also Guan's nominal master, he only heard Zhang Chuanxiu talk about him. He has been traveling outside for many years, and today is the first time he has seen him. The lifespan of Qing Xiandan, who is 104 years old, is 120 years old, and the maximum lifespan is 180 years old. In other words, if nothing unexpected happens, he can only live for the next 16 years. Guan thinks that lifespan detection is very interesting, which can help him identify the cultivation and qualifications of others. He guessed that the maximum lifespan may represent the height of his own qualifications, but this guess must be used repeatedly to be confirmed. Qing Xiandan walked into Zhang Chuanxiu's house and closed the door. Guan walked into Zhang Chuanxiu's courtyard, put the wrapped Jingxin grass on a long table, and then turned and left. He returned to his own courtyard and first visited Meng Lang, who was practicing in the house. Meng Lang, Qi Training Level 217/90/190. Well, he is indeed a waste. After learning about Meng Lang's lifespan, Guan did not talk much and quickly returned to his room. He waited until night fell. When he heard Liya's footsteps, he got up and walked out of the room. Liya was about to walk to his house, and when he saw him open the door, he couldn't help asking, "What's wrong?" Guan checked his lifespan and replied, "Master is back. How about we visit together tomorrow?" Liya, Qi Training Level 618/210/1550, the maximum lifespan is 1,550 years. Is this the talent of the royal children? Isn't Liya also a mixed spiritual root? Guan looked at Liya with a different look. Perhaps Liya is a buried genius who will shine sooner or later, and this guy's cultivation has reached the 6th level of Qi Training Level. What does it mean? Playing the pig to eat the tiger. The cultivation realms that Guan came into contact with were divided from low to high, namely Qi Training, Foundation Building, Dan Formation, Yuanying, and Shen Transformation. Each major realm was further divided into 9 minor realms. Liya could reach the 6th level of Qi Training at the age of 18. It was estimated that it would not take many years for him to build a foundation and be promoted to a formal disciple of Taixuan Sect. Such a genius fellow must have a good relationship. Upon hearing this, Liya raised his eyebrows slightly and nodded, saying, "Okay, you are very thoughtful. Call me when you get up tomorrow." After that, he turned and walked towards his house. Guan watched him close the door, feeling deeply moved. Sure enough, classes exist in any world, and the gap in status destined him and Liya to become true friends. Guan was not angry either. He had been a servant since he was a child and suffered from contempt and neglect. He did not blame Liya, who told him to look so mediocre. It doesn't matter. With the golden finger that can take away life, Guan felt that he would become an immortal sooner or later. Before that, what he wanted was to keep a low profile and spend the stage of life steadily. If you want peace, you can't conflict with others, you can't cause trouble, the lower the better. Guan smiled, then turned around and closed the door. The moon is very round tonight, and the moonlight is scattered on the stone steps of the courtyard like water. In the early morning, in the lobby, Guan, Meng Lang, and Liya stood side by side. In front of them, Qing Xiandan sat on a chair with a cup of hot tea in his hand, and Zhang Chuanxiu stood next to him. This senior brother seemed very respectful. Zhang Chuanxiu, 5th level of Qi training 54/110/175. Guan felt that the senior brother's qualifications were low, but on second thought, yes, there is more than one such medicine valley in Taixuan, and it is rare for a Liya to emerge. What's more, compared with these people, Guan was the most useless at the beginning. Qing Xiandan raised his cloudy eyes to look at Guan and the other two, and said, I have learned about your performance from your senior brother. Since we are meeting for the first time, I have to give you a gift. You can choose the record of herbs, qigong, and the spell poison wood vine. You can only choose one, and you cannot teach each other. If you are discovered by the master, you will be severely punished. Meng Lang heard it and said first, Master, I want poison wood vine. Guan thought that no one would want the record of herbs, so it would be better to let Liya choose first and do a favor. Liya followed and said, Disciple wants the record of herbs. Guan looked at him in surprise, Brother, don't play by the rules. Chapter 3 Evolution of Kung Fu, Dragon Power Divine Yuan Kung. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Meng Lang and Zhang Chuanxiu were also surprised by Liya's choice, but they did not say anything. Qing Xiandan looked at Liya with approval, nodded slightly, and said, Not bad, discerning, and not impatient. He waved his right hand to the table next to him, and 3 secret books appeared on the table. He gave Zhang Chuanxiu a look, and Zhang Chuanxiu immediately began to distribute the secret books, from beginning to end. Guan had no time to speak. Well, left out. Guan is naturally optimistic and is not discouraged. Although you are indifferent to me today, 16 years from now, I will disregard past grudges and offer incense to you. Guan took the secret book with Qi Yang Gong printed on the page and pretended to be happy. Recently, demons have sneaked into Taixuan. The Medicine Valley is located on the edge of Taixuan. Although there are disciples patrolling, there is still danger. You should not step out of the Medicine Valley on weekdays. Go down. After Qing Xiandan finished his instructions, he waved his hand, and Guan and the others immediately bowed and left. Guan walked behind and closed the door behind him. Qing Xiandan nodded slightly and said, The boy named Liya is not simple. He must have practiced some kind of method to conceal his cultivation. His energy and spirit are not weaker than those of Qin. Please pay more attention to him in the future. In addition, he comes from the royal family, so don't be too harsh on him. Zhang Chuanxiu nodded, thought for a while, and said, Master, Guan is the most diligent, and since he has the worst qualifications, he will definitely stay in Medicine Valley longer. Qing Xiandan said calmly, Well, take care of him then, and I'll leave him to you. Zhang Chuanxiu smiled and thanked him. The other side, Guan and the other 3 returned to their yard. Meng Lang was talking about monsters along the way. He was not afraid at all, but was very excited. Liya stopped, looked at Guan, and said, Qigong is actually not bad. It can restrain the breath and increase lifespan. I already have the method, so I don't need it. For people like you, Qigong is actually better choice. When Guan heard this, he smiled and said, Thank you, brotherly, for your advice. I will probably have to stay in the Medicine Valley for the rest of my life. The Baichao record is really not of much significance to me. I can learn about medicinal herbs by following my senior brother. When Liya heard this, he nodded slightly. He was very satisfied to see Guan obeying the advice. The 3 of them didn't chat much, and soon went back to their respective houses. There are not many daily affairs in Medicine Valley, so they have a lot of time to practice. Guan sat on the bed and started reading Qi Yang Gong. He had no interest in nourishing Qigong at first, but after hearing Liya say that it had the function of condensing breath and extending lifespan, he suddenly wanted to practice it and try out its ability to evolve lifespan. During this year, he practiced the Chuanmu Gong given by Zhang Chuanxiu, but there was no progress, so he gave up after only half a month of practice. For him, instead of practicing boringly, it is better to go to the library of Medicine Valley and read more books on medicinal herbs and various travel notes to broaden his horizons. Day by day passed. In addition to daily inspection of medicinal herbs, Guan practices in the house. After practicing for 15 days, he had the Words Qi Yang Gong appear in his attribute panel, and the note at the back still stated that he had not yet completed it. Guan looked at his attribute panel with a look of anticipation on his face. The first evolution of lifespan made him very nervous, and he did not know how many years of lifespan it would take to deduce Qigong. Although his lifespan has exceeded 1,000 years, he would feel distressed if it took dozens or hundreds of years. Guan stared at Qi Yang Gong in the attribute panel and silently chose to invest in lifespan evolution. Please select the number of lifespan. Looking at this line of words, Guan made his choice without hesitation, and then 2 lines of words jumped out in front of his eyes. You invest 1 year of your life in Qigong to evolve and practice. You have been practicing Yang Qigong for a year. Because your understanding and qualifications are mediocre, your cultivation has not made any progress, but your energy has been improved. Guan suddenly felt comfortable all over his body, but this feeling went away just as quickly as it came. That's it. The word mediocrity deeply stimulated Guan. What a fucking bully. Guan was confused. Are the so-called qualifications related to spiritual roots? He immediately chose the spiritual route to evolve his lifespan, and devoted himself to 100 years of life in one go. You invest 100 years of life into your spiritual roots to evolve and practice. You begin to understand the nature of heaven and earth, and increase your spiritual roots' perception of nature. After 100 years, your 5-element spiritual root perception has improved. After reading these 2 lines of prompts, Guan called up the attribute panel again and found that the spiritual root had changed from 5 elements ordinary spiritual root to 5 elements better spiritual root. Guan felt that he was at a loss. Seeing his lifespan shrink from 4 digits to 3 digits, he was heartbroken. From this point of view, the evolution of spiritual roots is a bottomless pit. Would you like to try Yang Qigong again? Guan had this idea in his mind, and after trying Krypton life, he felt an itch in his heart. It only takes me 1 year to earn 1,000 years of life. Spend a little more Krypton today and work hard to earn a life in the future. Well, I will indulge once today. After all, it is the first time to use this function. Guan took a deep breath, and he silently chose to devote 500 years of life to Qi Yang Gong. You have devoted 500 years of your life to the Qigong to evolve and practice. You have been practicing Yang Qigong for a year. Because your understanding and qualifications are mediocre, your cultivation has not made any progress, but your energy has been improved. You have practiced Yang Qigong for 10 years, but because your understanding and qualifications are mediocre, your cultivation has not made any progress. You have successfully mastered Yang Qigong, and your Qi and blood have been improved. You have been practicing Qigong for 100 years. Years of practice have made you understand Qigong, and your Qigong has begun to change. You practiced Yankigong for 200 years. Your Yankigong was integrated into the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and transformed into a method of cultivation. You practiced Yankigong for 300 years. Your Yankigong was promoted to Yangshanggong. You practiced Yankigong for 400 years. On this day, you suddenly had an epiphany. You gathered the true meaning of heaven and earth and created Yangshanggong as Longxiang Yangyuanggong. Your physical body and blood transformed. You practiced Yankigong for 500 years. Longxiang Yangyuanggong was perfected. You broke through the limit of the method and was promoted to Longjin Shenyuanggong. Your physique underwent a qualitative change. Lines of prompts appeared in front of Guan one after another. Before he finished reading, a large amount of memories poured into his mind. A breeze blew in from the window, blowing the curtain beside the bed and Guan's black hair. He closed his eyes and opened his mouth unconsciously, breathing in and out, and there was a faint dragon roar. I don't know how long it took, but Guan gradually woke up. He opened his eyes and what he saw was the dim forest outside the window. It was dark. Guan has inherited all the cultivation memories of Longjin Shenyuanggong, and he even mastered this technique directly. Longjin Shenyuanggong is a technique created with reference to the practice of dragon turtles. It can restrain breath, hide cultivation, and practice dragon strength. Yang Qigong is part of the basic practice of Longjin Shenyuanggong. The evolution of life is equivalent to deducing from an incomplete technique to a complete technique. Guan suspected that there was already a Longjin Shenyuanggong in the world, and Tai Xianmen only got a fragment. so it was named Yang Qigong. If he invested another 300 years of life, what would happen to Long Jin Shin Yuan Gong? Guan forcibly suppressed the urge to Krypton life. He felt his body. He could feel a domineering force in his body, which made him feel powerful. He felt that he could easily smash an attic with one punch. This powerful feeling is really wonderful. Not only that, his senses were also greatly enhanced. He could hear the breathing of Meng Lang and Liya, and he could even hear the communication between Zhang Chuanxiu and Qing Xiandan in the distance. That demon has killed 13 disciples, most of whom were menial disciples from various medicine valleys. Master, you and I alone may not be able to protect them. It's okay. I have applied for a sect mission. The sect will send a foundation-building disciple to guard our medicine valley. That's great. The spiritual energy in the valley was a little abnormal this afternoon. I thought it was a demon coming. To be ashamed, I didn't even dare to go out. You grew up under your master's lap since you were a child. You have never gone out to practice. It's understandable that you are timid. Listening to their conversation, Guan sweated profusely. Careless. In the future, when you deduce the exercises, you can't act at will. Fortunately, Zhang Chuanxiu's cultivation is low, otherwise Guan's practice will be discovered. Guan eavesdropped for a while, and only after he was sure that Qing Xiandan and Zhang Chuanxiu were not talking about him did he feel relieved. He continued to feel his new body, and at the same time, he suppressed his breath to the lowest level according to the method of Long Jin Shin Yuan Gong, and suppressed his blood and qi in his body. He looked no different from before practicing, and was still weak. An hour later, Guan opened his eyes and called up his attribute panel, name, Guan, lifespan, 16/402, spiritual roots, 5 elements with good spiritual roots, can be used for life evolution practice, cultivation, not in the mainstream, can be used for life evolution practice, Kung Fu, control fire Ju, not practiced, Chuanmu Gong, not practiced, Long Jin Shin Yuan Gong, perfect, can be used for life evolution practice. Long Jin Shin Yuan Gong, perfect. Guan was very satisfied, but it was a pity that Long Jin Shin Yuan Gong was a method of physical cultivation, and could not cultivate spiritual power, so his cultivation was still not in the mainstream. Even if he is not good enough, Guan thinks that it should be no problem to sweep through the Qi training realm. Next, he can wait for his lifespan to increase. His dragon power divine Yuan Gong has already been perfected. The energy flowing in his body will automatically help him increase his lifespan, but the speed of increase is not easy to define for the time being. That night, Guan had trouble falling asleep. However, he waited until dawn and repeatedly refreshed the attribute panel, but he still did not see his lifespan increase. He could only comfort himself that no matter how powerful the skills were, it was impossible to increase his lifespan by 1 year in 1 day. Well, God will not let down those who work hard, and there will be surprises sooner or later. Guan simply washed up, then walked out of the room, ready to walk around the park, look at the herbs, and calm down. Coincidentally, as soon as he arrived at a park, his eyes locked on a white-haired mouse. It was the mouse that ate the meditation grass before. Guan looked up and made sure that no one else in the Medicine Valley had left the house. He immediately approached the white-haired mouse quietly. The white-haired mouse had its back to him, 10 feet away, and did not notice anyone approaching him. When the two sides were less than 7 steps away, Guan rushed over like an arrow shot from a string, and grabbed the white-haired mouse with his right hand. The white-haired mouse was frightened and raised its 2 little paws directly, showing a gesture of surrender. Dare to steal my life, humph, you are done. Guan smiled proudly. When catching the white-haired mouse, he could see the process of the white-haired mouse turning around, too slow. Chapter 4, Greedy, Angerous, and Demonic Ghosts. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At noon, Guan, Meng Lang, and Liya stood in front of a wooden fence in a park. Meng Lang stared curiously at the white-haired mouse in Guan's hand. Liya pondered and said, "This should be a white spirit rat. They are very interested in heavenly materials and earthly treasures with strong aura, so they are called treasure-hunting rats. They can barely be regarded as spiritual beasts. When Meng Lang heard this, he couldn't help but asked curiously, what is the difference between spiritual beasts and monster beasts? Monster beasts are created by self-cultivation. Spiritual beasts are born with the ability to sense the aura of heaven and earth. They can also be cultivated, and their aura is not as bloody as demon aura. To put it simply, spiritual beasts are not as dangerous as demon beasts. Leah explained. When Guan heard this, he suddenly didn't want to kill the mouse. Meng Lang was even more interested and said with a smile, Guan, why don't you give me this mouse? Guan raised his eyebrows and secretly cursed the beast, how dare you speak? Leah said coldly, white spirit rats generally do not survive alone. The appearance of one means there is a nest nearby. Go and catch it yourself. If you want to snatch even one rat, it will be a bit pricey. When Meng Lang heard this, his cheeks turned red with anger and he hummed, just catch me. After that, he turned and left. After he walked away, Guan said to Leah, thank you. Guan found that Leah seemed cold, but in fact he was easy to get along with and he was generous. He usually didn't stop Guan from watching him practice swordsmanship, but today he still spoke out for justice. If Leah didn't speak, Guan would be in big trouble. If he beat Meng Lang to tears, with this kid's voice, there would definitely be a lot of noise. Leah looked at Guan, looked at her carefully, and said softly, why do you feel that you have suddenly changed, but I can't tell you exactly what has changed. His right hand suddenly grabbed Guan's wrist. His speed was so slow in Guan's eyes, but Guan did not dodge, but pretended to be surprised. Brotherly, what are you? Nothing. Leah took back his right hand. He hesitated for a moment and added, your breath is stable and there is no major problem with your body. You just have no spiritual power. No matter how mediocre your qualifications are, don't forget to practice. As long as you work hard, you will have hope sooner or later. Guan nodded and started chatting along with his words. Leah seemed to be in a good mood and was very talkative today. Through him, Guan also learned more about the world of immortality. It has to be said that the children of the royal family are different. Even if they have not traveled around the world, they are still full of knowledge. After half a stick of incense, Meng Lang walked over quickly. Something big happened. Meng Lang came to Guan's side and whispered in a nervous tone. Guan raised his eyes and looked at the mouth of the medicine valley. Leah asked, what's the matter? Meng Lang stared and said, there is a monk guarding the entrance of the valley. I went up and asked a few questions. He said that he was an inner disciple of the sect. He accepted the reward mission from our master and came to protect us. He wanted to protect us. Moon. I guess the reason why master sent the mission is because of the demon mentioned before. If the inner disciple can't stop the demon, wouldn't we be dead? Guan had already seen the figure of the inner disciple from a distance, and with his current eyesight, he could clearly see the person's true face. That was a young man, dressed in a blue robe, handsome, and he looked like he was no ordinary man. Chu Jingfeng, first level of Foundation Establishment 19/290/870, can you build the first level of the Foundation realm at the age of 19? Genius. No wonder he became an inner disciple. Guan looked at the exploration prompts in front of him and was filled with emotion. Taixuan is indeed the #1 sect in Taixuan dynasty, and it is full of geniuses. Leah and Meng Lang began to talk about the mysterious demon. Meng Lang felt that it was outrageous. Taixuan Sect was so powerful, how could a demon sneak in, and it had been half a month, and it hadn't been caught yet. Leah thought it was normal. In his words, Taixuan Sect was too big and Yao Valley was on the edge, so it was normal for disciples to encounter danger. 100 years ago, a demonic cultivator invaded Taixuan Sect, killed hundreds of disciples, and fled away. The demon may know some secret techniques and is difficult to capture. Leah said in a faint tone. Let alone Taixuan Sect, there is no absolutely safe place in this world. The amount of spiritual resources the dynasty provides to various demon-suppressing mansions every year is an immeasurable amount. Leah started talking about the world. Guan and Meng Lang were very interested and listened carefully. The Ji family where Guan lives is a family that cultivates immortals. Guan, who has been in the Ji family since he was a child, knows very little about the world. This is the first time he knows that the world is so dangerous, demons are everywhere and evil spirits are rampant. 3 or 4 out of 10 immortal cultivators die in the hands of demons and evil spirits. After hearing this, Yuan became even more frightened. He will definitely not be able to go out in the future. He will stay in Taixuan to accumulate life. If you wait for thousands of years, then Taixuan Sect will collapse. But our medicine valley has so many medicinal herbs, which are of great significance. Why did the sect send an inner disciple here? Meng Lang said angrily. Li shook his head and said, there are more than 50 such medicine valleys in Taixuan Sect. The herbs cultivated here are not very precious. Inside Taixuan Sect, there are even more valuable medicine valleys, where all natural materials are grown. Each of these earth treasures can change a mortal's life. When Yuan heard this, his eyes suddenly lit up and he began to ask about the situation of the medicine valley. However, Li only knew about the existence of the medicine valley, and he didn't know the specific situation. The 3 of them chatted for a while and then dispersed. They each had to check the park on time to avoid any accidents with the herbs. After checking, they went back to their houses. Yuan tied a rope to Bai Lingshu's body so that Bai Lingshu couldn't escape. He sat in meditation on the bed, put the white rat on his legs, and then began to practice. He practiced the dragon power divine Yuan Gong, which can enhance strength and lifespan. As for other skills, he was too lazy to practice. When his lifespan increased, he would just krypton his life. When night fell, the medicine valley became quieter than ever before. Yuan's senses were now extremely outstanding. From a distance of 100 feet, he heard Qing Xiandan and the inner disciple Chu Jingfeng talking. Qing Xiandan was very respectful to Chu Jingfeng, as if Chu Jingfeng was more than just an inner disciple. Through the conversation between the two, Yuan learned the name of the demon, greedy and angry demon. Chu Jingfeng was quite disdainful of the greedy and angry demon, and his confident tone also made Qing Xiandan feel at ease. Yuan clearly felt that Qing Xuandan's heartbeat frequency had returned to normal. Greedy and angry demon. Yuan's eyes flickered. He was curious in his heart, and he didn't know whether his dragon power divine Yuan could kill the greedy and angry demon. According to the inherited memory of Long Jin Shin Yuan Gong, its dragon power has the effect of suppressing demons and exterminating evil. He must prepare for the worst, just in case Chu Jingfeng can't stand it. No matter how long his life is, he only has one. He can't afford to gamble. That night, the breath of everyone in the medicine valley was not stable, obviously affected by emotions, and Yuan, who caught this, became more nervous. It was not until dawn that Yuan began to fall asleep. In the next 5 days, the greedy and angry ghosts did not show up, and Yuan's tense heart gradually relaxed. The 6th day, Yuan, as always, went back to the house to rest after dark. This time, he brought back 4 travel notes from the library to increase his understanding of this world. The white spirit rat jumped out from under the bed and quickly jumped onto the table. Since it felt the breath of Yuan practicing Long Jin Shin Yuan Gong, it has become dependent on Yuan. Now even if it is not tied, it will not run away. Yuan came to the table and sat down. He teased the white spirit rat and then began to flip through a book called Qing Xia Travel Notes. The window was half open, and the night breeze blew in, making the candlelight on the oil lamp sway, and the shadow of the white spirit mouse on the table lengthened from time to time. Yuan found this travelogue quite interesting. It's just that there are too many things about men and women. Qingxia traveled around the world, enjoying the scenery of the north and south of the Yangtze River, slaying demons and monsters, and also having a fleeting love affair. When it was late at night, Yuan felt something was wrong. Why did every woman Qingxia met like him, and this guy was still making things difficult, and was half pushed by the women? Could this be written by a scholar? Yuan secretly despised the author of this book, but he still read it with relish. A gust of cold wind blew in from the window, and even Yuan, who had practiced the dragon power divine Yuan Gong, couldn't help shivering. He put down the book in his hand and stood up to close the window. Before he walked to the window, he suddenly heard a movement in the distance, and he couldn't help but stop and listen carefully. Monster! Die! Chu Jingfeng's low shout made Yuan's hair stand on end. The devil of greed and anger is coming. But Chu Jingfeng didn't seem to be afraid. He was very excited and reliable. Yuan's heart just calmed down a little. and he heard Chu Jingfeng scream, which scared him so much that he hurried forward to close the window and turned back to blow out the oil lamp. Guan retreated to the corner of the house, and the white spirit mouse obviously felt something and quickly jumped into his arms. This little beast was also trembling. Its trembling intensified Guan's fear. From childhood to adulthood, Guan has never encountered monsters or evil spirits. There is no way, the Ji family is too safe. When he was a child, the most terrifying existence in his eyes was the Ji family guards, like Zhang Fei and Li Kuei. Chu Jingfeng, you have to live up to your boasting, and Li Ya next door, I think you are talented and unique, you must be the protagonist in the novel, kill that demon, you will be able to turn into a dragon when you encounter the wind and cloud. Guan tried to calm down, he clenched his fists, and was already gathering the dragon power in his body. Soon, he heard the sound of the door of the next room being pushed open. It was Li Ya, who rushed to support Chu Jingfeng with a sword in hand. As for Meng Lang, he was even worse than Guan. He actually hid under the bed, which made Guan, who was originally nervous, almost curse out loud. This bastard usually pretended to be dead in front of him, calling himself the eldest brother, but he didn't expect that he would be so cowardly when encountering something. Guan thought so, and every second that followed made him feel tortured. In his perception, Chu Jingfeng's breath suddenly disappeared, and he didn't know if he was dead. Monster! Shut up! Li Ya's voice was caught by Guan, which made him shudder. This monster still wants to eat them. Then, Guan heard a bang, and Li Ya's voice stopped abruptly. Finished. Such a waste. Guan's heartbeat was like a war drum, and he couldn't calm down at all. Qing Xiandan and Zhang Chuanxia were hiding in their own rooms. They pretended not to hear such a loud noise. It was true that like master, like disciple, the outside of the room fell into silence. Even Guan, who had outstanding senses, could not catch the movements and breath of the greedy and angry ghosts. Thanks to Dan Cha Turtle Fragrance for rewarding 1500 starting coins, Mr. Dao Dao for rewarding 600 starting coins, Xingling Blood for rewarding 500 starting coins, Han Liang Liang for rewarding 100 starting coins, Hainao for rewarding 100 starting coins, No Umbrella on Rainy Days for rewarding 100 starting coins, and I Love to Read Everything for rewarding 100 starting coins. Point 2. Chapters a day during the new book period, 6,000 words plus update. Please vote and comment. Chapter 5. That's it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The night was quiet, and you could hear a pin drop. Guan, who was leaning against the wall, hated himself secretly. Why was his heartbeat so fast? For some reason, although he could not hear the movement outside, he inexplicably felt that the greedy and angry demon was approaching his house. His eyes moved back and forth between the door and the window. The moonlight seeped in through the cracks in the door and the window. It was so bright that it was scary. The white spirit rat made Guan's chest itch, making him want to throw it out, but he couldn't bear it. Time passed slowly as Guan held his breath and concentrated. Guan had never looked forward to the arrival of daytime as much as he did now. This Taixuan gate is not safe at all. In the future, I have to accumulate more lifespans. While keeping a low profile, my strength cannot stop growing. Guan was thinking wildly. I don't know how long it has been, and his eyes suddenly fixed on the threshold of the door. The door was on his left-hand side, less than 1 meter away. The threshold was illuminated by the moonlight, and a black shadow appeared in the crack of the door. At this moment, his scalp was numb. Greedy and angry demon. He's coming. Guan's heart was in his throat, and his whole body was tense. He even had the urge to rush out. Suddenly, Guan's body stiffened, and he felt a wet hand pressing on his head, and the sharp nails were imprinted on his forehead, which made him shudder. His mind was blank for a moment, and he looked up carefully, only to see a white arm emerging from the darkness above his head, like a woman's arm, with her palm pressing on his head, and her nails were sharp like claws. The owner of this arm poked out from the darkness, and a ferocious face with disheveled hair squeezed out of the darkness. Her true face could not be seen, and only her mouth full of fangs dripping with blood could be seen. She was laughing. Damn! Guan was completely frightened and crazy, raised his arm and swung it away, and slapped the face of the greedy and angry demon. Boom! The eaves of the house were blown open, blood and flesh splattered inside the house, and the rubble and grass on the eaves flew up dozens of feet and disappeared into the night. The night sky was so dark, and the mountains and forests around the Medicine Valley seemed to be standing with demons and ghosts. Who? Guan was breathing heavily, his raised right arm was trembling, his palm was full of blood, and the blood of the greedy demon ghost splattered all over his face. When everything was quiet, Guan still couldn't calm down. The moonlight sprinkled down and illuminated the house. A huge blood flower bloomed on the wall, which was terrifying, and a white broken arm lay at Guan's feet. After a dozen breaths, Guan finally calmed down. You successfully seized the 52-year lifespan of the greedy demon ghost, second level. Looking at the prompt that popped up in front of him, he was still breathing heavily, but his eyes became weird. That's it? Guan felt absurd. Was he too strong, or were Chu Jingfeng and others too weak? Just when he was confused, he vaguely heard the sound of a door opening. He immediately lay down, closed his eyes, and at the same time hung the arm of the greedy demon ghost on himself. This was not enough. He raised his hand again, broke the greedy demon ghost's palm, and then strangled his neck. After doing all this, he spread his hands and pretended to faint. Autumn is approaching, and the weather is no longer so hot. Guan is picking in the Jingxin grass park. Liya and Meng Lang stand outside the wooden fence, watching him work. Half of Liya's body is wrapped in white cloth, and there are 2 shocking scars on his face, almost touching his right eye. It is hard to imagine what he has experienced before. Meng Lang seemed fine. He stared at Guan and said in amazement, "This kid can be so happy just picking herbs. It seems that he has never encountered the greedy demon before." Liya had no expression on his face, but the scar on his face made him look more vicious. He said calmly, "Maybe he is having fun in misery. How do you know that he can still smile after closing the door, that the night 4 days ago seemed like last night?" Liya recalled his fight with the greedy demon and felt scared. He was lucky to survive. Chu Jingfeng's injury was more serious than his. One arm was torn off. As for Qing Xiandan, Zhang Chuanxiu and Meng Lang, they were unharmed. That morning, Taixuan Sect sent several cultivators, all of whom had higher cultivation than Chu Jingfeng, and the highest reached the 9th level of the foundation building realm. They questioned Guan about the specific situation. Guan pretended to be in shock and knew nothing. Finally, several cultivators judged that someone else had saved the menial disciples in this Medicine Valley. After all, Guan had no spiritual power, so it was impossible for him to kill the greedy and Angerous demon ghost. Later, Guan deliberately changed a room. Zhang Chuanxiu treated him better and seemed to feel guilty. While Liya and Meng Lang were discussing Guan enjoyed the joy of taking the life of the second-level medicinal herbs. The second-level medicinal herbs could bring him 2 to 5 years of life. He helped Liya and the others pick them. This time, he could pick a total of 60 second-level medicinal herbs, which was simply too cool. At the same time, he couldn't help but think of the greedy and Angerous demon ghost. Killing the greedy and Angerous demon ghost brought him 52 years of life. Doesn't this mean that he can gain more life by killing demons and eliminating monsters? However, when he thought of the horrific experience that night and the injuries of Chu Jingfeng and Liya, he immediately gave up the idea. No need. He was not in a hurry to become stronger, so why bother going out and fighting? Yeah, can't waste time, grow in a sleazy way. After a while, Guan finally finished picking 60 stalks of Jingxin grass. He came to Meng Lang with a bamboo basket on his back and prepared to hand it over to Meng Lang. Meng Lang coughed and said, "This time, you can hand it over to the senior brother." Thinking of his useless performance that night, he really had no shame in taking the credit from Guan. Guan didn't refuse and said with a smile, "Okay." He nodded politely to Liya and then walked to Zhang Chuanxiu's attic. Liya did not stay any longer and turned around and walked towards the woods in the distance. Meng Lang looked back and forth and touched his nose in embarrassment. In the lobby, Guan handed all the Jingxinko to Zhang Chuanxiu. Zhang Chuanxiu did not let him leave immediately. Instead, he asked him if he had slept well recently. Every time Zhang Chuanxiu thought of the scene of Guan being choked by a greedy and angry demon, his heart was filled with guilt. As a senior brother, he was really useless for not being able to protect his junior brother. Guan was so honest and obedient on weekdays. If such a junior brother died, to be honest, he would be sad just thinking about it. By the way, don't mention it in the future about the greedy and angry demons. When I went to the outer sect today, I heard that the demon was raised by a senior in the sect. If this matter cannot be spread, just treat it as nothing. Zhang Chuanxiu said seriously. When Guan heard this, he couldn't help but frown. So that's the case, no wonder the demon has been able to act freely for so long. Zhang Chuanxiu seemed worried and added, we cannot afford to offend such a senior. One word can make our entire medicine valley disappear. Since you are from a humble background, you should understand the gap brought by status best. Only by being patient can you survive. He then raised his hand, took out a secret book from his arms, and said, this is the secret method prepared by Master for you. Master spent 5 years of sect contribution in exchange for it. After all, you have indeed been wronged. Guan suddenly became happy and took the secret book and saw 3 words written on the cover, Kenfeng legs. Thank you, senior brother, thank you master. Guan immediately bent down and thanked him. Zhang Chuanxiu blinked and said with a smile, practice more when you have nothing to do. Maybe you can protect yourself in the future. Don't give this secret book to Meng Lang. As for Liya, he has shown extraordinary talent, and the master decided to help him break through the foundation building realm. It is estimated that he will leave Yaogu in at least 2 years. Guan was not surprised when he heard this. It would be a waste for people with cultivation like Liya to stay in Medicine Valley. Afterwards, Zhang Chuanxiu said a few polite words to Guan and asked him to leave. After Guan closed the door, Zhang Chuanxiu sighed in a low voice, what an honest boy. He will definitely be able to take care of master for me in the future, and I can go down the mountain. Xiaoyan, wait for me. Guan, who was going downstairs, hesitated for a moment, then continued walking downstairs. Although the attack by the greedy and angry demons did not kill anyone in Yaogu, it made the atmosphere of Yaogu different from before. Liya became more and more mysterious. He usually hid in the woods after finishing his chores. Even Meng Lang began to practice hard. Guan practiced with the secret book of Kenfeng Kick for a month before he could barely make Kenfeng Kick appear on the panel. This shocked him so much that he gave up training and prepared to spend his life in the future. The sun and moon change, and autumn leaves cover the medicinal valley. Guan's figure kept appearing in various parks and became the busiest person in the Medicine Valley. Zhang Chuanxiu trusted him more and more and no longer supervised his work. As for Qing Xiandan, he was locked in the house all day refining elixirs and it was difficult to see him for a month. Autumn turns to winter, the white snow falls, and the Medicine Valley is plunged into whiteness. The new year comes in heavy snow. It wasn't until the winter snow first melted that someone from outside the valley finally came to visit, and they made a special trip to see Guan. Inside the house, Guan closed the door, then walked to the table and poured hot tea for the young man who was sitting next to him. The young man was wearing the green robe of an outer disciple of Taixuan Sect. He looked at the environment in the room and said, how have you been this past year and a half? That there were 5 people who followed Ji Xiaoyu into the Taixuan Sect. Among them, only Guan and the young man in front of him were servants. The young man's name was Duyi, and he had 4 spiritual roots. With the help of Ji's family, he entered the outer gate of Taixuan Sect. After not seeing him for more than a year, his whole temperament changed. It's okay. Guan responded casually. Duyi looked at him, shook his head slightly and said, you had to come here in the first place. With the reputation of Third Miss and the Ji family, it is not difficult to find a way to squeeze you into the outer gate. Why bother coming here to suffer, and there is no hope for cultivation? Guan looked at his lifespan of less than 150 years and compared it with his own lifespan of nearly 1,000 years. He smiled and said, my qualifications are mediocre, and I am afraid of death and pain, so a quiet place like this is suitable for me. Di shook his head and laughed, then criticized him a few more times, and then revealed the purpose of his trip. Master Ji Lin is planning to build momentum and network for the 3rd young lady in Taixuan Sect. We can also do our part. On weekdays, you try your best to collect medicinal materials. I will come to you every 6 months to get them. These medicinal materials can be used as a bargaining chip for Master Ji Lin to win over other disciples. Okay, no problem. Guan agreed. Medicinal materials were not very important to him anyway, seeing that Guan was so talkative. Di smiled, the two chatted for a while, and Guan sent Di to the entrance of the valley before turning back. As soon as he returned to the courtyard, he saw Liya waiting. Liya came to Guan, pressed a secret book in his hand on his chest, and said, "I'm getting ready to leave. This swordsmanship is just a farewell gift. Thank you for what you have done for me this year and a half." Chapter 6, The Fat Outer Disciple. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Guan received the secret book, and felt a subtle feeling in his heart. Although he had known that Liya was going to leave, he felt a little reluctant when he heard that he was leaving. In this medicine valley, he only had 2 friends. After all, he had nothing to talk about with Qing Xiandan and Zhang Chuanxiu. Liya was much better than Meng Lang. Meng Lang was just a beast. Are you going to build a foundation? Guan asked. He used his lifespan to find that Liya's cultivation had reached the 9th level of the Qi training realm. What a fast breakthrough speed. Is there a master in the woods to guide him? Or is it that Liya has the soul of his grandfather who was persecuted by the villain hidden in his body? Liya nodded and said, "I will prepare to build a foundation next month." He paused and said seriously, "After this separation, I am afraid that we will not be able to see each other again. Don't be too submissive to Meng Lang in the Medicine Valley, otherwise he will be arrogant. There will definitely be other disciples in the Medicine Valley in the future. As a senior brother, you must have your own temper." Guan was speechless. Why was he taught by 2 people in one day? But compared to Duyi, Liya is more sincere. Guan suddenly felt reluctant. From childhood to adulthood, he has been walking on thin ice in the Ji family. He has no real friends, only people he deliberately pleases. He has never had a friend like Liya who can give him gifts. He understands that what Liya said will come true. This separation may be a lifetime. Guan couldn't help but say, "You too, don't be as reckless as before. Staying alive is the most important thing. You can jump from a menial disciple to the point of building a foundation in less than 2 years. Your talent must be top-notch. As long as you survive, you will definitely become a top-notch cultivator famous all over the world." Liya couldn't help but smile when he heard his words. The 2 stood in the yard and chatted. After a while, Meng Lang came back. Hearing that Liya was leaving, he was also in a low mood. In the end, Liya left. After saying goodbye to Guan and the others, he went to visit Qing Xiandan, and finally left the Medicine Valley with Zhang Chuanxiu. The winter snow has not completely melted, and the Medicine Valley has become much quieter. Guan started to practice the sword manual given by Liya in his spare time. He didn't pursue much. He didn't want to master it, but at least he wanted to be proficient and make it appear in the panel. It takes time to make the secret manual appear on the attribute panel. Guan didn't want to wait until he was in danger and wanted to Krypton to find that he didn't have time to practice. The sword manual given by Liya was called the 7 Swords of the Li family. The name was very ordinary, but Guan knew that this Li family represented the royal family of the Taixuan dynasty, so he practiced very seriously. Winter passed and spring came, and the vitality spread all over the Medicine Valley. After Liya left, Zhang Chuanxiu brought back another person, a 14-year-old boy named Xiaochuan. Xiaochuan was a lonely boy. After entering the Medicine Valley, he rarely communicated with Guan and Meng Lang. After Guan helped him pick herbs many times, he developed a good impression of Guan, and the 2 gradually talked more, but in general, Xiaochuan was still a taciturn person. When the time came to summer, Guan learned from the attribute panel that he was already 17 years old. From childhood to adulthood, he didn't know the specific date of his birthday, and he didn't care. Compared to his birthday, Guan was more looking forward to when he could pick the 3rd-level herbs. Most of the herbs in the Medicine Valley take several years to pick, so his lifespan growth rate is not always increasing, and it has begun to slow down recently. One day, Zhang Chuanxiu found Guan. "Junior brother Gu, I have a task with a lot of rewards here. Are you willing to take it?" Zhang Chuanxiu said with a smile. Guan raised his eyebrows. "There are still tasks in the Medicine Valley?" He resisted and asked, "May I ask, what is the task, senior brother?" There is an outer disciple who is about to go out for training. It will be difficult for him to come back in 2 years. The task is to help him take care of the herbs in the cave. When he comes back, he will reward you with 10 medium-grade spirit stones. Zhang Chuanxiu said with a smile. Guan was immediately moved when he heard it. The spiritual stones are divided into low-grade, medium-grade, high-grade, and top-grade grades from low to high. The value of each grade differs by 100 times. One medium-grade spiritual stone is equivalent to 100 low-grade spiritual stones, and Guan's monthly reward is 1 low-grade spiritual stone. This task is equivalent to obtaining 1,000 low-grade spiritual stones in 2 years. How can he not be tempted? Guan hesitated and asked, "Is that senior trustworthy?" Zhang Chuanxiu was stunned and laughed. He said with approval, "Yes, junior brother Gu, you are very cautious. Don't worry. That person is my old friend. We joined Taixuan Sect in the same year. The reason why I chose you is because you are diligent and honest. If it were Meng Lang, I would still be worried. Moreover, his cave is not far from our Medicine Valley, only a dozen miles away. You can go twice a month." Guan hesitated for a while, but finally agreed. He has not had the opportunity to pick herbs in the past half a month. Seeing that his lifespan has not increased, he is very uncomfortable. He misses the feeling of Krypton life too much. Dragon Power Divine Yuan Gong can only increase his lifespan by 1 year every month. If he didn't have the golden finger that could take away his lifespan, he would definitely be very satisfied, but now, he is very greedy. Moreover, he doesn't know how long the effect of Dragon Power Divine Yuan Gong can last to increase his lifespan. After all, everything has its limits. Seeing that he agreed, Zhang Chuanxiu took him out of the valley directly. Guan hasn't been out of the Medicine Valley for 2 years. He was a little nervous when he was asked to leave the valley. When he walked out of the valley, he saw the continuous mountains and forests. The sunlight sprinkled in the forest, forming circles of rainbow light, which was particularly beautiful. Zhang Chuanxiu slapped his waist, and a long sword flew out of the storage bag on his waist. He grabbed Guan's arm, jumped up, landed on the long sword, and flew with the sword. Guan was so scared that he hugged his waist tightly. The hot summer wind messed up his black hair, and his eyes showed envy. Flying with a sword, this is the standard for cultivators. He didn't expect Zhang Chuanxiu to have this skill. Zhang Chuanxiu felt the strength of his arm and laughed. "Junior brother Gu, you must open your eyes and see the way you came here clearly. You have to do it yourself in the future." Guan couldn't help asking, "Big brother, can you teach me this sword flying technique? Then you have to practice hard. When you reach the 4th level of Qi training, I will teach you to fly a sword." The 4th level of Qi training. As long as you are willing to work hard, you will achieve the 4th level of Qi training one day. When saying this, Zhang Chuanxiu couldn't help but straighten his back and showed a bright and sunny smile. He couldn't help thinking, in the eyes of junior brother Gu, my image must be very tall now. I hope he can be inspired and no longer lazy to practice. In his eyes, Guan is good at everything, but he doesn't like to practice. In his spare time, this kid is reading books. Guan was speechless. Is it difficult to reach the 4th level of Qi training? Can I live for 100 years? No, then 500 years. If 500 years is not okay, then, that's ridiculous. The two brothers chatted while flying on the sword. Not long after, they landed in a mountain forest. After landing, Guan was still savoring the feeling of flying in the sky. Zhang Chuanxiu led Guan forward, passed through a dense forest, and came to a mountain wall. He raised his hand and took out a jade pendant and pressed it into a groove on the mountain wall. His cave has a ban. You have to bring this jade pendant with you in the future. Don't lose it. It will be very troublesome. Zhang Chuanxiu warned. Guan nodded, and then the mountain wall trembled, and a stone door appeared and opened. Zhang Chuanxiu took off the jade pendant and took Guan in. The two disappeared into the darkness. After a few breaths, the mountain gate closed with a bang. This cave is bigger than Guan expected. The cave alone is 5 meters long. They came to a wide cave, and Guan's eyes were attracted by an area where herbs were planted. those herbs were planted very densely, at least 100 plants, occupying most of the space in the cave. With Yuan's current vision, he could tell at a glance that these herbs were not simple. Are the outer disciples of Taixuan Sect so rich? Zhang Chuanxiu began to instruct Yuan which herbs to pick and the specific cultivation process of various herbs. This cave has its own restrictions and is not short of water, but it is afraid that too much water will cause the herbs to die suddenly. If some herbs are not picked in time, they will ignite spiritual flames, causing all the herbs to be destroyed. At the same time, there are seeds on the table, and Yuan has to continue planting after picking them. The outer disciple has prepared the spirit protection paper in advance and also placed it on the table. Okay, I'm leaving first. When you're done, come back and try to find your way back. If you haven't returned to Medicine Valley in the evening, I'll come find you. Zhang Chuanxiu patted Yuan's shoulder and handed him the jade pendant. Yuan was not rude. He sent Zhang Chuanxiu out before returning. He didn't pick the herbs immediately, but looked at the cave. It was very simple, with only a stone bed, a stone table, 2 stone benches. No, there were books hidden on the cave wall, covered by vines. Yuan didn't think of flipping through them. What if the immortal cultivators had a similar surveillance ban? Just earn your life honestly and don't cause trouble. Yuan began to pick the mature herbs. You successfully seized the spirit flame grass, level 3, 9 years of life, hiss, level 3 herbs. Yuan suddenly didn't know whether he had a problem with his understanding of the grade of herbs, or whether the treatment of the outer sect was indeed much higher than that of the Medicine Valley where he was. Forget it, enjoy it first. The first batch of herbs to be picked had 11 plants, which would bring him 89 years of life, and his total lifespan would therefore reach 1,264 years. Yuan used his lifespan to look around and actually saw the 4th level spiritual herbs. What a fat outer disciple. Yuan was very happy. He had to maintain a good relationship with such a fat employer so that he could have long-term cooperation in the future. Wait. Can he do this for other Taixuan disciples? After all, going out for training is something that all disciples will experience. No, he had to do this first, and he had to do it steadily. What if he met a bad guy who wanted to blackmail him? He was just a chores disciple. Once he had a conflict with a formal disciple, he would definitely be the one to be abandoned. Yuan began to plant the seeds of the spiritual flame grass. He was very careful and wanted to do this well. After an incense stick of time, Yuan walked out of the cave, closed the cave gate, and walked towards the direction of the Medicine Valley. He was afraid of encountering demons like the greedy and angry demons again, so he walked very fast. With the help of Dragon Power Divine Yuan Gong, Yuan returned to the entrance of Medicine Valley in less than half an hour. Before he approached, he saw a person, Chu Jingfeng. Chu Jingfeng, whose right arm was broken, had a vicissitude on his face and wore a black robe. He was completely different from before, thanks to the Golden Lotus of Creation for rewarding 100 starting coins. New book, please vote for it. Updated on time at midnight and 12 o'clock noon every day. Chapter 7 3000 Years of Life, Crisis Rebirth. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When Yuan saw Chu Jingfeng also saw him. Yuan was about to speed up his pace to greet him, but Chu Jingfeng leaped up several feet high, flew over the hillside, and landed in front of him like a wild goose. You must be Yuan, right? I have something to ask you. Chu Jingfeng said in a deep voice. Yuan pretended to be nervous and saluted, and replied, I am. Whatever the senior wants to ask, I will answer truthfully. Seeing Yuan so honest, Chu Jingfeng's expression eased, and he whispered, You have seen the greedy and angry ghost, and she also pinched your neck, but do you remember her face? Yuan shook his head and said, There was no oil lamp in the room that night, I couldn't see her face clearly, and she fainted when she appeared. At this point, he secretly mobilized the blood in his body, making his face flush instantly. Seeing him so embarrassed, Chu Jingfeng's anger dissipated a lot. What am I doing? Why am I making things difficult for a chores disciple? Chu Jingfeng thought with self-mockery. His face became gentle, and he said, If you remember anything or encounter anything, you can contact me. After that, he took out a spiritual stone the size of an egg and said, This is a special spiritual stone. You can communicate with me by injecting spiritual power into it. He threw the spiritual stone to Guan, then jumped up, and a long sword flew out of thin air from his waist. He stepped on the long sword and rushed out of the woods, and leaves fell. I don't know if it's an illusion, but Guan always feels that he has become stronger after breaking his arm. Guan didn't think much about it, and walked towards the medicine valley with the spiritual stone. Alas, when can I have my own storage bag? The young man walked on the hillside in the forest, and the mottled sunlight sprinkled down, and he seemed to be covered with a layer of colorful clothes. Time flies, and in a blink of an eye, 2 years have passed. 19-year-old Guan walked in the forest. He looked taller than 2 years ago, and his body was much stronger. Even though he was wearing simple cloth, he looked clean, especially his eyes, which were very bright. His long hair was tied behind his head with a straw rope, and 2 strands of fine hair fell on his forehead, which made him look more casual and unrestrained. Behind him, there was a young man following. The boy had an ordinary face and was a head shorter than him. He carried a bamboo basket on his back and wiped the sweat on his forehead as he walked. "Brother, how far is it?" Xiaochuan shouted weakly. He was the only one in Yaogu who was younger than Guan. He liked to follow Guan on weekdays. He heard that Guan also took care of the cave for the outer disciples. He begged for a long time until this time Guan agreed to take him. Guan also had his own considerations for agreeing to take him, because he heard Zhang Chuanxiu say yesterday that the owner of the cave was back. In order to prevent accidents, he decided to take Xiaochuan with him. If the other party had bad intentions, seeing that there was still one person, he might be a little cautious. Guan didn't want to harm Xiaochuan either. If he really encountered trouble, his dragon power divine Yuan Gong would not be practiced in vain. "It's almost there," Guan said without turning his head. He began to understand Zhang Chuanxiu's love for him. "It's really worry-free to have such an obedient junior brother," Xiaochuan wailed. He had heard these 2 words no less than 8 times. If he had known this, he would not have come. 10 miles is not short for mortals. In addition, the mountain road is rugged and the weather is hot. Xiaochuan feels that he is about to die. Guan did not continue to comfort him because he was really almost there. About half a cup of tea later, Guan lifted the grass and came to the mountain wall. He did not open the mountain gate directly, but clasped his fists and said, "Junior Guan, come to return the cave jade pendant to the senior." Xiaochuan stood on the other side of the grass, looking at the mountain wall with curiosity. His background was not much better than Guan's, and he didn't know much about the world of immortal cultivation. In his eyes, the outer disciples of Taixuan Sect were big shots. Rumble, the mountain gate opened, and a hoarse voice came out. "Come in." Guan turned around and said to Xiaochuan, "Wait for me outside." Xiaochuan naturally didn't dare to follow him in. He felt that it was worth the trip to see the wonder of the cave opening. Guan walked into the cave. Compared with 2 years ago, he was more confident. His confidence came from the accumulated lifespan, and his lifespan had reached more than 3,400 years. In addition to the herbs in the cave, Qing Xiandan also began to order him to pick 3rd-level herbs in the past 2 years, so his lifespan increased rapidly. People's confidence comes from strength. Although Guan has only cultivated a trace of spiritual power, he is no longer the same as before. Passing through the cave, Guan saw a man sitting at a stone table. It was a middle-aged man, thin, with a loose Taoist robe on him, black and white hair, sunken eye sockets, and prominent cheekbones, giving people a feeling of being very cunning. The first time he saw him, Guan felt that this man was not a good person. Zhu Moya. 9th level of Qi training 58/130/140, this life limit is not as good as Zhang Chuanxiu, which means that his qualifications are not as good as Zhang Chuanxiu. The reason why his cultivation is higher than Zhang Chuanxiu is probably due to the accumulation of elixirs. Guan guessed in his heart. He walked quickly to Zhu Moya, took out the cave jade pendant, and presented it with both hands. Zhu Moya took back the jade pendant and whispered, "You did a good job, I am very satisfied. This bag has 10 medium-grade spirit stones, you can take it away." He picked up the cloth bag on the table and handed it to Guan. Guan took the cloth bag respectfully, weighed it secretly, and then thanked Zhu Moya. "You can go back." Zhu Moya waved his hand. Guan nodded, saluted again, then turned and left. when he turned around, his sharp eyes caught something, and he reacted quickly and immediately through a life probe. Greedy and angry demons and ghosts, level 231/140/180. Guan remained calm and left quickly. Zhu Moya looked at Guan's back and his eyes became cold. When he heard the sound of the mountain door closing, he snorted coldly and whispered to himself, "Good luck to you, that the cave restraints of the outer disciples are very low level. The so-called restraints are just a kind of magic mechanism. The magic mechanisms of the outer disciples are naturally not very good." So Guan outside the cave heard Zhu Moya talking to himself, which made him feel even more uneasy. Sure enough, there is a problem. Guan had wondered before why the greedy and angry monsters attacked all the way without affecting the Zhu Moya cave along the way. It turned out that this guy was related to the greedy and angry monsters. "Senior brother, is everything going well?" Xiaochuan asked with concern as he looked at Guan who was coming. Guan smiled and said, "It went well, let's go. We should go back." Xiaochuan nodded, and the two of them walked in the direction they came from. When they were far away, Xiaochuan began to ask the owner of the cave who he was. Guan's simple description made Xiaochuan fascinated. During the rest of the journey, Guan had no intention of talking to Xiaochuan. His mind was filled with greed, anger, monsters, and Zhu Moya's words. "No, you can't pretend you didn't see this, it's too dangerous." Guan thought of the spiritual stones left by Chu Jingfeng and decided to ask Chu Jingfeng for help, but before that, he had to improve his strength just in case. Guan was very excited just thinking about being without Krypton for 3 years. Long Jin Shin Yuan Gong can converge the aura, and even if he has spiritual power, he can hide it well. This time, he plans to improve his cultivation first, and then improve his offensive methods. Is it evolving into Kenfeng Leg's early family's 7 swords? Guan began to struggle with this issue. An hour later, the two finally returned to Medicine Valley. Guan took Xiaochuan's bamboo basket and walked to his yard. The bamboo baskets were filled with common medicinal materials they picked along the way. Xiaochuan was exhausted and had no energy to do anything else, so he went straight to his yard. Guan returned to the house, closed the door, put the bamboo basket and cloth bag on the table, and then came to the bed. He took a deep breath and first felt the breath of other people in the Medicine Valley. Meng Lang was practicing magic in the woods, Qing Xiandan was refining elixirs, and Zhang Chuanxiu was struggling to collect energy. Well, no one should be paying attention to him. Guan brought up the properties panel. Name, Guan. Lifespan, 19/3463. Spiritual roots. Better spiritual roots of the 5 elements, can be invested in lifespan evolution practice. Cultivation level, level 1 of Qi training realm, can be invested in life evolution practice. Skills, fire control technique, not yet mastered, spring wood kung fu. Not yet mastered, Longjin Xinyuan Gong, proficient, can be put into lifespan evolution practice. Secret skills, Kenfeng kick, not yet mastered, Li family 7 swords, not yet mastered, can be put into life evolution practice. Guan carefully devoted 1 year of life to his cultivation to evolve. You have practiced Naki for 1 year, but because your qualifications and skills are mediocre, your cultivation level has not increased much. As soon as this line of prompts came out, Guan felt the changes in his body. 1 strand of spiritual power turned into 2 strands. The corner of Guan's mouth couldn't help but twitch, and he had to look at Chun Mu Gong. He has only mastered this chi-napping technique. As for the fire control technique, it is an auxiliary technique. When he was burning firewood at Ji's house, an old slave taught him. As the name suggests, it is to control fire power. Forget it, I won't wait for more advanced skills. Anyway, I can use my lifespan to evolve. Even ordinary skills with me can be promoted to peerless magic. Guan thought of this and his eyes became firm. He chose to devote 100 years of his life to Chun Mu Kung to evolve and practice. You have been practicing Chun Mu Gong for 1 year. Because your understanding and qualifications are mediocre, your attainments in Chun Mu Gong have been weakly improved. You have been practicing Chun Mu Gong for 10 years, and you finally mastered Chun Mu Gong, and your speed of receiving Qi has increased. You have been practicing Chun Mu Gong for 50 years, and your Chun Mu Gong is finally perfect, and the speed of receiving Qi is 10 times as fast as before. You have practiced Chun Mu Gong for 100 years, you have a new understanding of Chun Mu Gong, and Chuanmu Gong has been promoted to Chunyuan Ju. A stream of memories flooded into Guan's mind, all about the training memories of Chunyuan Ju. Chunyuan Ju was far less complex than Long Jin Shin Yuan Gong, so it didn't take long for Guan to open his eyes. After opening his eyes, he first listened to the voices of other people in the Medicine Valley. Xiaochuan had already fallen asleep, and the others were busy with their own affairs, so no one noticed him for the time being. Now comes the problem: should he continue to improve the Chunyuan Ju, or directly evolve his cultivation with the Chunyuan Ju? The higher the attainment of Kung Fu, the faster Guan can improve his cultivation level, which can also save the investment in lifespan. After thinking about it, Guan felt that the exercises were the most important and should not be taken lightly. Let's spend 1,000 years on it first. Chapter 8, Divine Tree Pure Yang Kung, the position of the eldest senior brother. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Guan did not immediately devote his life to evolution and cultivation. With the precedent of Long Jin Shin Yuan Gong, he was afraid of making too much noise. Wait until night. Even if there is a lot of noise, Qing Xiandan and Zhang Chuanxia will probably be scared and shrink back, not daring to leave the house. Night fell quickly. Guan waited for Meng Lang to go into the house to rest before calling up his attribute panel. He focused on Chunyuan Ju and chose to devote 1,000 years of life to evolution. God bless, don't waste my 1,000 years of life. Guan prayed while rubbing the white spirit rat to rub the rat luck. You devote 1,000 years of your life to the evolution of the Chunyuan Ju. You practice Chunyuan Ju for 1 year. Due to your mediocre understanding and aptitude, your cultivation increased slightly. You practice Chunyuan Ju for 10 years. Your understanding of Chunyuan Ju reached a new level. You practice Chunyuan Ju for 100 years. You comprehended the earth and mountains and had more ideas about Chunyuan Ju. You practice Chunyuan Ju for 200 years. Your Chunyuan Ju was promoted to Tsangmu Chun Xingong. You practice Chunyuan Ju for 500 years. Your understanding of Tsangmu Chun Xingong has reached perfection and your wood spirit root has been improved. You practice Chunyuan Ju for 800 years. You comprehended the heaven and earth and nature. Your Tsangmu Chun Xingong was promoted to Shenmu Chun Yanggong. You practice Chunyuan Ju for 1,000 years. Your attainments in Shenmu Chun Yanggong reached perfection and your wood spirit root has been improved. Looking at the lines of prompts in front of him, Guan caught a few key words and was immediately overjoyed. Then a lot of memories poured into his mind. His consciousness was immersed in the inheritance, and his whole body burst into green light, and the ground in the house emitted wisps of green spiritual energy. At the same time, Zhang Chuanxiu, who was practicing in the house, opened his eyes and looked at his windowsill. A strong wind suddenly rose outside the window, shaking his window. He quickly got up and walked to the window. He just glanced out and quickly closed the window. He walked quickly to the table, blew out the oil lamp, and hid in the bed. No, we have to leave early. This Medicine Valley is getting more and more weird. Meng Lang was also frightened. He hid in the quilt and shivered. Xiaochuan was too tired today and slept like a dead pig, snoring like thunder. Qing Xiandan was meditating in front of the alchemy furnace. He felt the movement outside the window and looked at the night sky outside the window. His eyes were deep, without fear or curiosity, as calm as a deep well. For a long time, Guan finally woke up. He opened his eyes and felt that the whole world had changed. He could clearly feel the wood-attributed spiritual energy in the air, and he could also feel the vitality of the flowers, plants, and trees. This feeling was very wonderful. His mind moved, and the previous prompt reappeared in front of him. He was very surprised to see that his wood spiritual roots had been improved. If practicing the exercises can actually improve the spiritual roots, then there is no need to hard Krypton spiritual root qualifications in the future. This thing is simply a bottomless pit. Guan has only tried it once, but he has already had a psychological shadow. He tried to operate the Shenmu Pure Yanggong. Unlike before, he could absorb the wood spiritual energy between heaven and earth at once. After the wood spiritual energy entered his body, it flowed into his dantian and then transformed into wood-attributed spiritual power. The whole process was very smooth and silky. Just a casual breath was better than his previous half a year of work. Guan suddenly felt like he was dreaming, and felt that he had become a genius all of a sudden. In this way, there is no need to rush to improve his cultivation. When his lifespan exceeded 1,000 years, he opened the ability to detect lifespan. Perhaps when his lifespan exceeded 10,000 years, he would have new abilities. Moreover, with his current cultivation speed, he felt that he could improve his cultivation through cultivation. Although his cultivation was not in a hurry to improve, his attacking methods had to be improved. Long Jin Shen Yuan Gong was an auxiliary technique, and there were no moves. His eyes fell on Confone Leg. Li Family 7 Swords was a sword technique. He did not have a sword in his hand, and the sword technique probably relied on cultivation. Confone Leg was different. It relied on the legs. His physical strength could easily kill the greedy and Angerous demon ghost in the Foundation establishment realm. If it was combined with Confone Leg, the power would definitely increase greatly. How much life should be invested? Guan was in a dilemma. It was meaningless to spend less, and it was painful to spend more. Forget it, make it an integer and spend 500 years. Guan excitedly invested 500 years of life in Confone Leg to practice evolution. You practiced Confone Leg for a year. Due to your comprehension and aptitude, your leg skills were smooth, but you were unable to bring out the power of Confone Leg. You practiced Confone Leg for 10 years. Years of hard work made your Confone Leg reach its peak. You practiced Confone Leg for 100 years. Your Confone Leg returned to its original state. You had a new understanding. Your Confone Leg was promoted to Fengying Leg. You practiced Confone Leg for 200 years. Your Fengying Leg was perfected. Your understanding of physical skills was improved. You practiced Confone Leg for 400 years. Your Fengying Leg was promoted to Quangfeng Jueying Leg. You practiced Confone Leg for 500 years. Your Quangfeng Jueying Leg reached a state of mastery. Your understanding of physical skills and body skills was improved. Could the understanding of physical skills and body skills be comprehension? Guan had just come up with this idea, and then his mind was occupied by the memory of Quangfeng Jueying Leg. In the early morning, the first ray of sunlight passed through the Medicine Valley. Before it touched the threshold of Guan's house, the door opened. Guan walked into the yard, facing the rising sun. He stretched lazily, and his whole spirit was completely different. He was smiling, and his excitement had not completely disappeared. He silently called up the attribute panel. Name, Guan. Lifespan, 19/1862. Spiritual roots, first class with spiritual roots. For good spiritual roots, can be used for lifespan evolution. Cultivation, Qi training level 2, can be used for lifespan evolution. Kung Fu, fire control art, not yet practiced. Shenmu Pure Yang Gong, mastered. Long Jin Shen Yuan Gong, mastered, can be used for lifespan evolution. Unique skills, Wind and Shadow Leg, mastered. Li Family 7 Swords, not yet practiced, can be used for lifespan evolution. Qi training level 2. When he inherited Shenmu Pure Yang Gong last night, his spiritual power increased a lot. Coupled with the all-night Qi training, he successfully broke through to the second level of Qi training. He is no longer a waste without spiritual power. The feeling of Krypton life is so cool. Guan has more ideas about his own path to immortal cultivation. He has no idea of going out to venture out. By killing demons and taking away lifespan, he may increase his lifespan faster, but the risk of death will also soar. He was thinking of the master of the Medicine Valley. Qing Xiandan will not live for many years, and Zhang Chuanxiu is willing to go down the mountain. The position of the valley master must belong to him. At that time, he will recruit a group of menial disciples to help him cultivate, and he will only be responsible for picking. It is simply wonderful. Guan put his hands on his waist and looked at the surrounding mountains. There may be more herbs on the mountain. Qing Xiandan did not expand the Medicine Valley. Maybe expansion is meaningless to him. He is just a worker of Taixuan, but for Guan, it is different. He does not need to share more herbs, he just wants to seize the life of herbs. Guan became more and more excited as he thought about it. He began to kick his legs on the spot and stretch his body. He used the Confone Leg, which was sharp and powerful. Not long after, Meng Lang came out of the next room and saw Guan's leg skills. His eyes widened. The 19-year-old Guan's body was fully grown, his legs swung like whips, and although his body did not move, the strong wind had already hit Meng Lang's face, which surprised him. Meng Lang couldn't help rubbing his eyes, thinking that he recognized the wrong person. When did Guan become so powerful? Feeling Meng Lang's gaze, Guan retracted his legs, turned to look at him, and said with a smile, "Did I wake you up?" Meng Lang hurriedly came to him, looked at him carefully, and then said, "How come you are so powerful suddenly? Did you notice the evil wind last night? It can't be related to you, right?" Guan rolled his eyes at him and said, "Yes, it was me. I practiced the Canfeng leg taught by my master last night, which triggered the way of heaven and earth, and the earth trembled. It can be said to be shocking the world and weeping ghosts and gods. Since you heard the movement, why don't you come out to see my majesty?" Meng Lang would not tell his embarrassment. He snorted, "Although your leg skills are sharp, there is no spiritual power to support it. How can you set off the strong wind last night? And last night was not only a strong wind, but also a spiritual fluctuation. Either the demons absorbed the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, or a great cultivator broke through." Guan smiled and raised his leg to hit him on the butt. "You dare to kick me, you are rebelling. Liya is gone. Don't you want to recognize me as your big brother?" Meng Lang screamed. "If I recognize you as my elder brother, won't you stay here with me forever? Don't you want to be an outer disciple?" "That makes sense, you are right, I am different from you." The two began to play and fight. An hour later, Zhang Chuanxiu found Guan, and he led Guan around the Medicine Valley, pointing out every inch of land and herbs in the Medicine Valley. Guan listened carefully, but as he listened, he noticed something was wrong. Why does this sound like he is telling about his last wishes? Could it be that the noise last night scared him to death? Guan wanted to persuade him, but then he thought that Zhu Moya was not a good thing. He probably helped the great monk behind the greedy demon ghost to do a lot of dirty things. When Chu Jingfeng solves this matter, Zhang Chuanxiu will be implicated. After all, the two are good friends, it's better to go down the mountain early. Guan swore that he didn't want to be a big disciple, but he was really thinking about Zhang Chuanxiu. After mastering the divine with pure yang skill, Guan was not in a hurry to contact Chu Jingfeng. First, he already had the power to protect himself, and second, he didn't want to alert the enemy. He had just returned to Medicine Valley, and Chu Jingfeng came the next day. It was difficult to get rid of suspicion. Guan was not afraid of Zhu Moya, but the person behind Zhu Moya. Zhang Chuanxiu said before that the person had a very high status, and the weight of the entire Medicine Valley combined could not shake that person. It was just right to improve the cultivation during the waiting days. Zhang Chuanxiu took Guan around for an hour, and even climbed the surrounding mountains. After talking until he was dry, he took Guan to find Qingxiandan. Guan saw the alchemy furnace in front of Qingxiandan, and his eyes were full of curiosity. "I have heard that Qingxiandan is proficient in alchemy, but I don't know if I can learn it. After learning it, I will Krypton life again and directly become an alchemy master." Qingxiandan stood up and looked at Guan, saying, "From now on, you are the eldest brother of this Medicine Valley." When these words came out, Guan was shocked, subconsciously looked at Zhang Chuanxiu, and asked in panic, "Elder brother, what's wrong with you?" Thanks to Mo Yizimo for rewarding 600 starting coins. Chapter 9: The Life of the Eldest Disciple. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Zhang Chuanxiu felt very relieved when he saw Guan, who was worried about him. When he was about to go down the mountain, what Zhang Chuanxiu was most reluctant to leave was not his master, but his junior brother Guan. He was too obedient and too honest. Zhang Chuanxiu had the same mood as Liya, worrying about Guan and fearing that he would be bullied in the future. "I have been in Medicine Valley for 40 years, and it is time to go down the mountain. My cultivation talent is mediocre, and there is no hope of building a foundation in this life. Instead of wasting time here, it is better to go down the mountain and enjoy the rest of my life. Junior brother Gu, you should take over the position of the eldest brother. Meng Lang is lazy, and he can't be the eldest brother." Zhang Chuanxiu patted Guan's shoulder and said seriously. Guan hesitated and said, "But, without you, the eldest brother, I'm afraid I..." Qing Xiandan said, if you don't dare, let Meng. It's not impossible for me. Guan interrupted hurriedly. Zhang Chuanxiu, who wanted to comfort him, was stunned. Qing Xiandan looked at Guan deeply and said nothing more. Guan coughed falsely and said, I can't disappoint my senior brother. Well, actually I'm afraid that Meng Lang will call me the day after he becomes the senior brother. Hearing his last words, Zhang Chuanxiu couldn't help laughing. The atmosphere suddenly eased, and Zhang Chuanxiu began to encourage Guan, who listened carefully. After chatting for a while, Zhang Chuanxiu rolled up his clothes and kowtowed to Qing Xiandan. After kowtowed 3 times, he stood up and left, leaving Guan and Qing Xiandan alone. You see, this Medicine Valley can't keep anyone. If you don't want to stay in Medicine Valley for a lifetime, you can tell me in advance, and your teacher may not be unable to help you. Qing Xiandan said, his eyes calm. Guan said quickly, disciple is willing to stay in Medicine Valley for a lifetime. Don't rush to answer, because it may really be a lifetime. Master, I dare not lie. I really want to stay here for a lifetime. Maybe in the eyes of others, Medicine Valley is all dirty and tiring work, but for me, this is the most comfortable time for me. Master takes good care of me, and my fellow disciples are also very friendly to me. I really want to stay here for a lifetime. Guan said seriously. At this juncture, he must show his sincerity. Qing Xiandan said faintly, you should have a background. It is no coincidence that you can survive from the hands of the greedy and angry demons. Moreover, the direction of the riot of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth yesterday also came from your courtyard. Guan was anxious. Master, I really have no background. My only background may be Ji Xiaoyu, the third lady of the Ji family, but I am just her servant. Ji family. Qing Xiandan was moved. This was the first time that Guan saw his face change drastically. Guan saw fear, anger and fear on his face. All kinds of negative emotions gathered together, making his face look hideous and terrible. Oops. This old guy won't have a grudge against the Ji family. Guan was uneasy and felt that he had walked far away. So that's how it is. From now on, you will be the eldest disciple of this Medicine Valley. Qing Xiandan took a deep breath and said, a sudden turn of events. Guan breathed a sigh of relief. Regardless of whether Qing Xiandan was sincere or not, he would be the eldest disciple first. Even if Qing Xiandan had bad intentions, he would not live long. Guan was not afraid that Qing Xiandan would plot against him. Could Qing Xuandan's body withstand the beating of the greedy and angry demon ghost? The disciple must be diligent and will never disappoint the master's expectations. Guan promised hurriedly. Qing Xiandan waved his hand and said, go and call Meng Lang and Xiaochuan. Guan immediately saluted after hearing this, and then turned and left. After an incense stick of time, Guan, Meng Lang, and Xiaochuan walked down from the attic. Xiaochuan was very excited and called him the eldest brother. Meng Lang was indignant. He said angrily, why is it you who is the senior brother? Why not me? I have a higher cultivation level and a higher family background than you. Guan was not angry when he heard his words. He turned around and smiled. Meng Lang, it is not easy to be the senior brother. Once you are the senior brother, you will be the senior brother for your whole life. Master saw that you have the heart to cultivate immortals, so he let me be the senior brother. Really? Meng Lang's anger subsided. Of course, look at our senior brother. He has been here for 40 years. How many 40 years are there in a person's life? Meng Lang was silent, his eyes changed, and he looked at Guan with sympathy. He patted Guan's shoulder and said, Guan, I'm sorry for you. Xiaochuan was also silent. He also had a dream of cultivating immortals in his heart, so he naturally didn't want to stay here for a lifetime. Guan pretended to be silent, but he laughed in his heart. Meng Lang is really easy to fool. In this way, Guan's life as a senior disciple began. Qing Xiandan asked him to manage all the affairs of the Medicine Valley. He directly handed over the planting and cultivation to Xiaochuan and Meng Lang, and he was responsible for picking. Meng Lang might feel guilty, but he didn't complain. Picking is rare twice a month, so Guan spends most of his time practicing, but he has always hidden his cultivation and never let people see it. 3 months have passed, Guan reached the 5th level of Qi training without anyone knowing. The perfect Shenmu pure Yang Gong is really amazing. Guan's practice time is not as long as Meng Lang's. He left himself time to read. Autumn leaves covered the Medicine Valley, and the surrounding mountains were also dyed with autumn colors. With a sense of sadness scattered in the world, Guan stood in front of the wooden fence, looking at the 3rd level herbs that were about to mature, and he stroked the white spirit rat in his hand. He suddenly heard something and turned his head to see Qing Xiandan coming from the entrance of the valley. Followed by 2 people, a man and a woman, who looked 14 or 15 years old, he subconsciously used his lifespan to detect, Yilan, Qi training level 114/110/130, Lu Jiujia, Qi training level 215/140/190, okay. 2 more errand boys are here. Guan's mouth curled up, and he immediately walked towards Qing Xiandan. He came in front of Qing Xiandan and saluted with his fists. Lu Jiujia and Yilan looked at Guan curiously. Guan was handsome, and after growing up, he was also trained in Long Jin Shen Yuan Gong and Shenmu Chun Yang Gong. His temperament was outstanding, which reminded them of the Taixuan Sect monks they had seen. These 2 are your junior brothers and sisters. You come and take them to settle down. Qing Xiandan left after saying this. Guan almost got goosebumps, but he still saluted Qing Xuandan's back. He turned to look at Lu Jiujia and Yilan, and they saluted him quickly, with a very respectful attitude, which made him very satisfied. Yes. He is more polite than Li Ye and Meng Lang. Those 2 were not polite to Zhang Chunxiu. Guan immediately had a good impression of his junior brother and junior sister. He began to introduce himself and asked them to introduce themselves. Lu Jiujia had dark skin and shabby clothes, like a farm boy, but his eyes were bright and piercing. Yilan was thin, but her clothes were rich, and her face could only be considered pretty. Let's go, senior brother will take you to stay first. Guan smiled, and seeing his gentle attitude, the 2 were no longer so nervous. On the way to the disciple courtyard, Yilan couldn't help but curiously ask about other disciples in the Medicine Valley. Guan introduced them truthfully. Afterwards, he called Meng Lang and Xiaochuan to let the 4 meet. Unlike Zhang Chunxiu, Guan really wanted to manage the relationship between his fellow disciples. After all, he was going to be the master of the valley. The joining of Yilan and Lu Jiujia reminded Guan of Zhu Moya and the greedy demon ghost. No. It must be solved as soon as possible to prevent the junior brothers and sisters from being in danger. Guan was worried about this and began to teach his junior brothers and sisters how to do things. That night, he closed the door, took out Chu Jingfeng's spirit stone, injected a trace of spiritual power into it, and the spirit stone began to heat up. It was the first time for Guan to use this kind of immortal cultivation technology, and he felt very novel. After a few breaths, Chu Jingfeng's voice came from inside. Who? Good guy, how many people have you given such spirit stones? Guan resisted the mood of complaining and said, Senior, I am Guan from Medicine Valley. Chu Jingfeng was silent. Guan felt a little embarrassed, but fortunately Chu Jingfeng spoke quickly. Do you have information about the greedy and angry demon ghost? Yes, Guan said in a sonorous and powerful voice, and then told what he saw and heard. After he finished speaking, Chu Jingfeng asked in a deep voice, Are you serious? Really, no lies, he is not far from our Medicine Valley. I am afraid that he will hurt us. Guan said seriously. Okay, leave this matter entirely to me. I will go to the outer gate to find the address of his cave and will not bother you again. Thank you for your understanding, Senior. If this matter is resolved smoothly, I hope you will not mention me. I am mediocre and do not want to cause trouble. I just want to live a peaceful life. Well, I will be sensible. After Chu Jingfeng finished speaking, he cut off the connection with the spirit stone. Guan put the spirit stone on the table and carefully recalled the process of his communication with Chu Jingfeng and Zhu Moya to confirm whether there were any loopholes. It's really troublesome. I hope this matter can go smoothly. I just want to farm. Guan thought to himself that he preferred the peaceful life of picking grass to fighting and killing. After informing Chu Jingfeng, Guan would patrol every day, and at the same time keep an eye on his junior brothers and sisters, fearing that they would leave the Medicine Valley. There was no disturbance for 3 consecutive days, until the late night of the 4th day. Guan felt the signs of spiritual riot outside the Medicine Valley, and could faintly hear the sound of weapons hitting each other. The fight started. He sneaked out and came to the entrance of the valley. He wanted to stay here to prevent greedy demons or bad guys from sneaking into the Medicine Valley and slaughtering his junior brothers and sisters. The battle in the distance was fierce. When Guan arrived at the entrance of the valley, it was not over yet. There were too many peaks along the way, so Guan could only use his outstanding hearing to judge the battle situation. Suddenly, Guan seemed to feel something, turned around suddenly, and looked back into the Medicine Valley. His eyes fell on an attic, and he saw Qing Xiandan standing in front of the window, looking at him from a distance. The bright moonlight sprinkled down, and in the dark attic, Qing Xiandan looked like a ghost, which made Guan feel scared. Goops. He was discovered. Guan frowned and suddenly didn't know what to do. Just as he hesitated, Qing Xiandan slowly closed the window, but his eyes were like two dim lights that made him really uneasy. Guan was not afraid of Qing Xiandan, he was afraid that Qing Xiandan would reveal the matter, but he thought again, it shouldn't be the case. If Qing Xiandan was really related to the great cultivator behind the greedy demon ghost, why did he need to recruit Chu Jingfeng to protect him? It's a waste of time. If these menial disciples died, they would die. The other party didn't even need to find an excuse to report it to the sect. Chapter 10 Alchemy, a Jade and a Promise. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Guan tried not to think too much about Qing Xiandan. He focused outside the valley to avoid enemy attacks. He stayed there all night. When it was almost dawn, Guan quietly returned to the house. Guan wanted to take a look at the battlefield, but he was afraid of traps, so he could only endure it. The joining of Yuan and Lu Jiujia made Yaogu more lively. The two dragged Xiaochuan to run around Yaogu. They were young and full of energy, and Xiaochuan, who had always been taciturn, became lively because of them. Guan leaned against a wooden fence in a park, holding Qing Xia's travel notes in his hands, enjoying the autumn breeze. His eyes glanced at Qing Xuandan's attic from time to time. The look at each other last night lingered in his mind. He wanted to talk to Qing Xiandan, but he was afraid of breaking the delicate balance. At this time, Lu Jiujia came to Guan and asked expectantly, "Senior brother, I heard from Senior brother Meng that you are proficient in a set of advanced kicking techniques. Can you teach me? I am willing to help you take over all picking tasks." Guan looked at him and smiled. "It's not proficient. If you want to learn, I can teach you. As for picking, I'll leave it to my senior brother. I have to do something, and picking is my hobby." When Lu Jiujia heard this, he was even more in awe of Guan. Senior brother is such a good person. He was so excited. Guan put the book in his arms and began to teach Lu Jiujia how to practice Kenfeng kick. Not long after, Xiaochuan and Yuan also came over to learn. As for Meng Lang, he couldn't lose face, and he felt that Guan was not as strong as him. The reason why he told Guan about his kicking skills was because he didn't want to be entangled by Lu Jiujia. Sanfeng's kick moves were so powerful that even if Guan held back the move, the three boys and girls were stunned. An hour later, when Guan was thinking of finding an excuse to escape, a voice came from afar. "Aner, come here." Guan turned around and saw Qing Xiandan standing in front of the window waving to him, "Coming." Guan immediately walked towards Qing Xuandan's attic. Xiaochuan and the other three continued to practice the Kenfeng kick without thinking too much. He walked all the way into Qing Xuandan's house. After closing the door, he quickly came to Qing Xiandan and bent down to salute. Qing Xiandan sat meditating in front of the alchemy furnace. He pointed to the other side of the alchemy furnace and said, "Sit down." Guan walked to where he pointed and sat down cross-legged while preparing his words in his mind. "Are you looking for Chu Jingfeng?" Qing Xuandan's first words interrupted Guan's thoughts. "Hey guys, let's get straight to the point." Guan stopped acting and replied, "Yes, he came to me before and said that if there are any clues about greedy and angry demons, please contact him at any time. Senior brother Zhang recommended me to take care of the cave for an outer disciple named Zhu Moya. When Zhu Moya came back, I went to hand it over and saw the greedy and angry demon hidden by him behind the vines. His cave was too close to us, so I had to find Chu Jingfeng." Qing Xiandan nodded and said, "You are right. You can only approach Chu Jingfeng for this matter. Chu Jingfeng is not an easy person. He is not only talented but also has a prominent background, so he can become an inner sect disciple with the cultivation level of foundation establishment. Have a big background? No wonder you dare to investigate greedy, angry monsters. Guan felt relieved, but he was also worried that Chu Jingfeng would fail and the great monk behind the greedy and angry demon would eventually find him. Chu Jingfeng has been investigating greedy and angry demons, so he took over the mission of our Yao Valley. This is a game between his father and a certain big shot in the sect, but I am still very confused as a teacher. It has been several months since you came back from Zhu Moya. Why did you find Chu Jingfeng recently? Qing Xiandan asked, staring at Guan. Guan said helplessly, Master, you should understand me. I am afraid of trouble, let alone conflict with others. No matter how Meng Lang orders me, I am too lazy to fight with him, so I originally wanted to pretend not to see it, but Master Will Jr.'s sister took me to the Medicine Valley, so I had to contact Chu Jingfeng. He meant what he said, and he really meant it for that reason. Qing Xiandan looked at him deeply, then glanced at the alchemy furnace aside, and said, You have done a good job. From now on, you will be my true disciple, and I will teach you everything I know. As for this matter, you and I, master and disciple, should forget about it. Whether it's Chu Jingfeng's father or the big shot behind the greedy and angry monster, we can't afford to offend him. Hearing this, Guan was stunned. He looked at Qing Xuandan's profile and suddenly felt that he had misunderstood this master. Master, Guan immediately stood up and bowed to Qing Xiandan in a very solemn salute. Qing Xiandan looked at him again, with a kind look on his face, completely different from his usual self. Anyone who wants to know or learn can come to me in the future. Don't feel intrusive. I don't have many years left to live and can teach you. Qing Xuandan's eyes and tone were softer than ever before. Guan sat down and said cautiously, Master, can you refine the beauty pill? The standard configuration for the protagonist who cultivates immortality is to take the Zhuyan pill at the beginning, which will keep you young forever. Guan doesn't want to be a gray-haired old man in the future. Qing Xiandan shook his head and laughed, then raised his hand and made a move from the air. A jade bottle appeared in his hand. He poured one out and handed it to Guan. Guan didn't hesitate and swallowed it directly. The reason why he is so bold is because Shenmu Chunyang Kung Fu and Longjin Xinyuan Kung Fu both have the effect of expelling poison. It is no exaggeration to describe him as immune to all poisons. Seeing that Guan was not on guard against him, Qing Xuandan's eyes showed relief. After taking the Zhuyan pill, Guan had no special feeling, as if he had eaten a rock candy that melted in his mouth. Do you have any ideas about alchemy? Qing Xiandan asked. Guan's eyes lit up, and he nodded quickly, saying, To be honest, Master, I have wanted to learn alchemy from you for a long time, but I was too embarrassed to ask before. Qing Xiandan pinched his beard and laughed heartily. The atmosphere in the room became very harmonious. Qing Xiandan began to teach alchemy, starting with the fire in the alchemy furnace. Guan, who had learned the fire control formula, learned very quickly, which made Qing Xiandan mistakenly think that he had a talent for alchemy. Later, when Qing Xuandan's topic left the fire, Guan began to get confused, which made Qing Xiandan silent for a while. Since Guan and Qing Xiandan established a true master-disciple relationship, the Medicine Valley has become more lively. Qing Xiandan, who had been locked up in the house for many years, also began to come out and teach Guan and others how to grow medicinal herbs. Lu Jiujia and Yilan liked Qing Xiandan more and more, and often praised the master for being amiable, which made Meng Lang sneer. After the battle that night, there was no more fighting outside the valley. Neither Chu Jingfeng nor Zhu Moya came to Medicine Valley. Guan did not dare to investigate the situation and could only hide the matter in his heart. Time flies. 1 year passed quickly. Guan crossed the threshold of 20 years old, and his lifespan increased to more than 2,800 years again. At noon that day, Guan was lying on the cliff halfway up the mountain reading a book. Looking down was Medicine Valley, and he could see Xiao Chuan and Lu Jiujia practicing leg techniques. Since the 3 words alchemy appeared on Guan's attribute panel, he no longer bothered Qing Xiandan. The process of learning alchemy was too boring. It is worth mentioning that, at Guan's suggestion, Qing Xiandan exchanged more seeds from the outer sect. It must be said that after becoming a master-disciple relationship, Qing Xiandan was very confident. Guan rested his head with his left hand and held the book with his right hand. He exhaled a breath from his mouth and turned the book with his breath. His eyes suddenly widened and he sat up immediately. The latest Qingxia travel notes is actually mixed with pictures. There is something. Guan carefully admired the pictures in the book, criticizing constantly. A hissing sound came from the sky, and he looked up suddenly. His eyes became sharp. A white eagle with a wingspan of about 10 feet fell down. When it was about 2 feet away from Guan, its claws loosened, and a letter fell down, and he took it easily. The white eagle drew a perfect arc in the air and quickly disappeared on the other side of the mountain. What a handsome eagle. Guan couldn't help but think of his own white spirit rat, which was a little bigger than a palm and useless. He opened the envelope and found that in addition to the letter, there was also a jade pendant with a word Chu engraved on it. He pinned the jade pendant in his belt, put the Qingxia travel notes in his arms, and then checked the letter. This letter was actually written by Chu Jingfeng. Chu Jingfeng first briefly explained the previous battle. Zhu Moya had died under his sword, and in this year, he collected evidence everywhere and overthrew the great monk who manipulated the greedy and angry demons. He told Guan not to worry about it anymore. That jade pendant is a token of their Chu family. If Guan encounters a problem that he cannot solve, he can use this jade pendant to find him or his clansmen. The Chu family recognizes jade but not people, and a jade is a promise. Guan's favorability towards Chu Jingfeng increased greatly. He did not expect that this arrogant inner disciple was so loyal. Even if Chu Jingfeng did not return anything to him, he had no choice, and he had said before that Chu Jingfeng did not need to contact him again. After reading it, Guan tore the letter into pieces and scattered it on the ground. His right foot twisted slightly, and the spiritual power under his feet vibrated, and all the fragments of the letter turned into powder. The spiritual power of the 8th level of Qi training is so strong. Guan's mouth corners rose, and he jumped up, like a wild goose flying away. Along the way, his toes stepped on the leaves of the hillside forest and landed gracefully all the way. Lu Jiujia and Xiaochuan were no longer surprised by this. Guan controlled his breath at the 2nd level of Qi training, and he had already shown his Kenfeng leg, which made Qing Xiandan praise him. Now he looked like a powerful martial arts master. Guan was low-key, but he felt that he could not hide it all the time. Showing some of his strength appropriately would help him to have a better farming life. As soon as he landed, the white spirit rat rushed over and climbed up his legs to his shoulders. I haven't tested your leg skills for several days. Come on, let's spar. You two will join forces. Guan smiled at Xiaochuan and the others. Xiaochuan and Lu Jiujia looked at each other and rushed towards Guan immediately. The three of them fought leg skills on the grass outside the park. Their bodies moved, and their long legs were like whips. For a while, the wind was whistling and grass debris was flying. Guan fought 1 against 2, and broke Xiaochuan's leg skills with one leg. Although Xiaochuan's leg technique was in good shape, it was a little clumsy. Lu Jiujia was very talented, and his kicks had the momentum of Kenfeng leg, but each of his moves was slower than Guan. After half a cup of tea, Xiaochuan and Lu Jiujia were already out of breath. They looked at each other and admitted defeat in unison. Guan slowly retracted his legs in the air and said with a smile, "You have made great progress, which makes it very difficult for me, your senior brother, to deal with you. I guess it won't take long for you to surpass me." "How long is how long?" Xiaochuan asked stiffly. Guan patted the dust on his trouser legs and smiled, "It depends on how hard you work." The white spirit rat lay on his shoulder, squeaking, as if laughing. Thanks to 10,000 Qijian coins for loving to watch everything, 5,000 Qijian coins for Manidi, 700 Qijian coins for no regrets, and 200 Qijian coins for ha 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 honey melon. After reading this, remember to click on the next page to see which one of you has caught up with the latest chapter.